this about to get really meta? You're still playing their game. Wouldn't you like to know what's in those DMs? It's none of your business, though. Peace was never an option.
Like, to an average person,
didn't you play the Goose game?
I can't control women. I don't have that power. All right.
Stop protecting them. Treat them like equal people, all right?
He's always seemed like the small dog that's like looking to the larger dog. Get better friends, Sam. Dylan admitted that I was right. You said NCC was right. Right there. Xanderhal. Xanderhal was the first person out of anybody on BreadTube to debate Lauren Southern, and it started out kind of weird. Kind of a weird thing. Yeah, it started out with Xanderhal reading Lauren Southern's children's book, which is this weird, like, inculcate children with the traditional values sort of thing. And she didn't realize it was a debate. He later had her back on for a debate proper, and a lot of people were not happy with how it went. Oh my god, okay. So yeah, here's where we'll start. Because what I'm gonna do, chat, this is the challenge of this, okay? I'm trying to present you this story, and at the same time not fall into the trap of gazing into the spectacle itself, right? Because that is the problem, right? The spectacle, right? The fact that, like, there's this, like, black hole of bullshit called Lauren Southern that more and more eyes are getting pulled into. And, you know, you may think that you're, like, hate watching, but any kind of engagement, especially passionate engagement, which hate engagement tends to be, hey, listen, like, thank you, trolls. Honestly, like, how many extra views do I get because trolls, like, cannot stop? No, they come here to ruin my day, and instead I end up ruining theirs. I think that's pretty good praxis. Yeah, like, engagement at all is engagement. Engagement is helpful. Do not engage with that which you do not want to grow, because, you know, that's kind of what you're doing. And that is the idea at the very base of this concept of platforming. It's almost like the Streisand effect. Like, look, I can do a video about somebody to blow them up, right? To get some negative attention sent their way. But if I'm not careful, I'll send positive attention their way, right? Or I'll send the negative attention I send their way will somehow be, you know, usable or monetizable, right? So I am very careful with who and what I do videos about, right? The last thing I want to do is to help a bad faith actor get a larger platform. So I'm always trying to, you know, prevent that. So sometimes that's how it's seen, is like, you know, you're platforming somebody if you're larger than them. So don't let any smaller creators on that are, you know, irresponsible or have, like, you know, dangerous, fucked up racist takes, right? But I don't think that's the only way that it does work. Because in some ways, if you're talking to a right-wing creator, you have something that might be very, very valuable to them, depending on where they are in the, like, trajectory of their whole, like, grift, right? Sometimes when people strike out with the right wing, they come and try things on the left a little bit, and they're like, oh, I'm a lefty, but, you know, I'm a different kind of lefty. And they really, like, you know, I mean, maybe they make some change. Maybe they're just, like, playing to the audience. It's hard to tell. At worst, it could be entryism. It could be somebody literally coming in to, like, you know, kind of fuck up the left. The reason that some people want to interact with these people is that they see them as salvageable, and they see a utility in, like, taking something from the right and making it left. But they don't seem to notice that you change the nature of that left when you do that, especially, you know. So yeah, the first thing that we're going to watch, oh my god, if I can get my fucking mouse to work, is Destiny explaining what Xanderhal did wrong in his debate with Lauren Southern. That's what I mean when I say I'm going to keep it meta. We're going to stay off of the actual, like, Lauren Southern stuff, and we're going to kind of stick to, what am I doing here? We're gonna kind of stick to the meta, wait, this is like, okay, so wow, did 3 hours on, talk to, Dylan Burns, talk to, Destiny. I mean, these are not great choices I'm having here, but I'll say that Dylan and Destiny, you're better than Lauren Southern, so I choose you.
My goal when I talk to, like, I don't know if I would call it alt-right, I don't know, but for, like, conservatives or for anybody who disagrees, I think the goal is to, like, find common ground and then steer them towards your prescription. I think one of the big problems a lot of leftists or progressives or whatever are having these days is they're not willing to acknowledge what everyone in the world sees as just being obviously true. I think that it's better to just acknowledge what is obviously true and then move towards what you believe we should be doing, you know, in the future. So like, for instance, I don't remember this exactly, but like the subject on cancel culture. Cancel culture is cancer culture. We need to stop. 99% of people in the center and everyone on the right sees it as being cringe. Don't ever die on that hill. When somebody starts talking about like, oh, like cancel, be like, yeah, cancel culture sucks. Like, yeah, it's definitely gone overboard in some cases. And then boom, move off that topic. Because if you get bogged down trying to deny its existence, everybody in the middle like looks at you like, what the fuck? This guy is like such an ideologue. Like, acknowledge that are like
I like my take on cancel culture better.
bad, and then move on to like your prescription. Like, move on to where you go from there. Wait, who is
know.
this?
And I mean, I acknowledge it, but I say that what you're really talking about is scapegoating. And scapegoating mostly happens to marginalized people. So in other words, what cancel culture is privileged people trying to steal valor from those of us who actually suffer under that kind of shit, right? Because most of the time their complaints are like minor compared to, you know, what marginalized people go through. Yeah, it exists, and yeah, it mostly affects marginalized people, right? If you don't have power, if you don't have social connections, you're the one who gets hurt. Whereas if somebody has a lot of friends that are gonna just like stand them no matter what, then there's really not much anybody can do in terms of cancel culture.
Who is Lanny in your chat?
Lonnie's my girlfriend.
Oh, nice. She's a moron. So like she
Oh my god. Okay, I think we watched this, didn't we?
even just did it to me. What I just said was that is transphobic.
Hey guys, I just wanted to do
That's a great introduction,
a
right?
real quick recap of a 2-hour
Oh
debate
God,
I just
oh
finished
God.
with a red tuber named Xanderhal. It should be linked down below in the description. I honestly can't say I knew much about RedTube until recently.
This is so
as
meta.
guys on
This is
YouTube
so fucking
really
pack
came
meta.
about when I was off busy having a baby.
Oh
but if
yeah,
you don't know
Destiny
about them, essentially
mukbang.
they are a very left-wing
Destiny
socialist
mukbang.
group.
All right, you look what you're
I had
getting.
absolutely no intentions of debating this group, but I found it fairly entertaining.
Should we just
when a RedTuber
zero in
reached
on
out
Destiny
and challenged
eating?
me to a debate immediately after I announced
Yo,
the
we're
release
gonna
of
watch
my new
Destiny
children's book, The ABCs of Morality. Especially considering he challenged me to a debate on the book when he couldn't have possibly
'Cause I'm
read
taking
it yet,
Lauren
or even
the
known what
fuck
was
out.
Oh, no.
Considering I know Amazon's pretty good, but it takes more than a few minutes for a shipment to get to you.
I've seen it a million times.
This was the one point everyone on Twitter or wherever said he
It's like such this is like this is like such an anime. You got like the protagonist or whatever is like, well, you weren't ready for my trans study, and then like the antagonist is like,
Oh my god.
is that the NCBI ninjutsu?
No.
I've seen that move used against me a million times. No serious ninjutsu person takes that move seriously anymore. It's been defeated for years. It's like it feels like such an anime moment. Hits vape.
off on.
Like, comment, write some dumb shit below.
But it turns out he was referencing the wrong study. Watching the Xanderhal-Lauren Southern debate, and I'm very confused.
Oh no, Mal the infidel is the one that gets quoted by.
Did Xanderhal confuse the Swedish transitioning study with the ROGD study? Yeah, they were talking about transitioning, and Lauren cited the Swedish study, and Xanderhal responded by giving the critique of the ROGD
Fuck
study,
you, bitch.
which isn't even about transitioning.
Hey, what's up?
Did you want to chat?
I want to give you my thoughts going
Okay,
into
so
that
here comes
debate and
Xanderhal.
why I went about it the way that I did, and see if you think I succeeded in the way that I wanted to go about it, or if I didn't. And that's what I'm really curious about, because I did pretty significant amount of research going into that debate about Lauren Southern, and I didn't want to just go in like, okay, here's every bad thing you've ever done. We're gonna go over it, and you're gonna be held accountable for it, because that would be not a good idea. We're debating about a kid's book that she wrote. Like, there's not really much you can do about
hate
that
this
other than
debate.
be like, okay, so here's what you wrote. What did you mean by this? And then try to debate about whatever that runs into. So, are you familiar with what Lauren Southern's recent optics goal has been?
I know that like I think a year ago she posted something wanting to be more moderate.
I also don't see the possibility for growth when I'm constricted by the expectations of an online right-wing tribe, that I hold certain beliefs or I'm not a part of them anymore. Because I also have questions and criticisms within the right as well. There are some issues there. If anything, I'd say I've taken the real-life pill.
You know, in some ways, Lauren got canceled from the right. Like, right? In some ways, you could, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to, like, overextend that metaphor, right? But, like, it's not. Like, right? There were certain things about Lauren that the right did not like, okay? so she talked about traditional values, but she herself was an unmarried woman of what they would refer to as an inappropriate age, right? So this is how trad the right really is, right? They looked at her and they're like, why aren't you making babies? What are you doing? Like, you like, they really did, right? And she wanted to be like, in some ways, this is like a little bit sad. Like, it's this, kind of tragedy of I mean, I guess the word is pick me, right? The idea that, like, she wants to be like, hey, listen, I'm not like the other, I'm not like the other women, right? Like, I will absolutely adhere to your right-wing weirdness, and, I'm here for it, right? And they kind of, like, pushed her down, right? They, like, Gavin, McGinnis, there's an article, it's in my first Lauren Southern video that I go over this. This is an article that was written about her, a reporter who got kind of close to her before eventually she kind of like, pushed him away and disavowed, like said that everything that he was reporting was kind of like a lie and a hit piece. And he actually portrayed her more sympathetically than I've seen elsewhere, and he talked about the degree of like sexual harassment and disrespect that she got from the alt-right guys, from like the Gavin McGinnises of the world, and how maybe that contributed to this move where she's she's claiming like, those right-wingers, they're too much, I'm not like that anymore, I'm on your side now, lefties, but, right? So she's got a bunch of buts. And it's kind of like when you bring somebody in from the right wing with a whole list of like, hey, I'm pretty left wing. I like what you're about. I'm down for the program. I don't like the right wing anymore. But then it's a little bit of a red flag.
I think people are multidimensional.
No canceled enough to keep hanging around counterpoints.
Complex beings, and they are worthy of trying to understand. You can't sum them up in a...
That is a weird champ wagon to hit your... a weird train to hit your wagon to. It's a weird... what is that shit called? Like, Warhammer, train to hitch... I don't know, chat. I don't know Warhammer.
A tweet you found 6 years
But Connor
ago.
does.
You can't sum them up as a race or a gender, which too often polarizing political internet communities try to do.
Or that she'd like kind of broke, it might have been 2 years ago, she broke off from like the more extreme things, but then looking recently, it seems like she still kind of follows some of the more extreme stuff, so yeah, what about it?
I mean, I don't disagree with that summary. I just like question like how much
She probably wants
research.
to be more moderate. It's probably better than being like an immigrant killing, like boat riding person violating foreign laws in other countries.
Yep, yeah, you're completely right. She's sort of rebranding to be like a moderate, like center right, but like a rational, reasonable thinker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like going in and just being like, okay, so why do you believe this and this and this? Oh, you're a Nazi, yada yada yada. That would be like a horrible idea, optically speaking.
To be fair, if I can be a little bit charitable, hold on, wait, are you streaming on Twitch?
Twitch and YouTube, yeah.
Oh, okay. Just to be a little bit charitable, it's also possible that her views have moderated a tad as well. That is possible too. That there is some legitimate change in belief over time there. If you guys are all gonna, because you guys all fucking simp so fucking hard over that shoe on head dipshit. If you guys are all gonna simp over her, then I can be a little bit charitable and say like, it's possible that Lauren has moderated a bit on her views over time, even if she is still like a Western values, white values kind of person.
Yeah, like you said before, or a long time ago, you can't know what somebody's thinking. You have to kind of look at what they say. And lately, it doesn't seem like she's advocated for like the great replacement of white genocide stuff. So that would make me look even worse if I went in being like, you're a Nazi, look at the shit that you did back in 2016, 2017, this documentary you made 3 years ago, where you went to this country and you did this. It would look really, really...
I mean, like, I do want people to have a chance to, Wait a minute. Is this about to get really meta? I think it might be. Okay, like, people should have a chance to, revise their views, but you do have to actually talk about it. And maybe I've had a change of heart over the past several months that I haven't talked about. Yeah? And you probably know, like, I mean, if you're following me enough, you know what I mean. You know how my coverage of this content, my coverage of this discourse has become more critical. And particularly my focus on platforming has changed too. When I was upset with the way that Dylan platformed Rob Noor, I wasn't asking that Rob Noor be, deplatformed. I wasn't asking, like, I just was worried about the Gishkel. That tactic in particular combined with tropes spells disaster for marginalized people. And when you try to communicate that with somebody that doesn't have the same skin in the game that you do, like Dylan, and has got, trans friends that will cover for him and kind of clean up his mess, then you've got no way to hold somebody accountable. And if somebody is existing in this bubble where he's only told yes, it's going to be a hard sell to get him to do a damn thing for trans people. Now, in recent days, I have heard my take on platforming being espoused by everybody from, Demon Mama to more intersectional streamers on Twitch, right? People that don't have repepes in their emote arsenal, yeah. And it's refreshing to see. I mean, it would have been nice if people had seen this earlier, but I think that when you see the end result of this, and what is this? What am I talking about? Okay, what I'm talking about is a progression. So I talked before about some of the problems with getting a right-wing, left-wing panel. The right wing had destroyed itself on Twitch. The right wing had rage quit. The right wing had TOS'd itself out of existence, right? And some of the earliest hippy-dippy guests that were right-wing turned out to be banned eventually. They did something that crossed the line. They left the platform, right? So that was the problem, is that the people that Dylan would line up were a little too hot to handle, right? And would get him in trouble too, right? You can't have somebody saying the N-word on your stream without consequences. So Dylan was looking for some right-wing creators who would be a little bit less volatile. And he found those creators in Critically Thinking Veteran, Counterpoints, etc., etc. You know the list. It's like the same people on the right almost every week. So in other words, what you've got is a hippy-dippy where the left-wing component of the guests is constantly changing week to week. It's a different cast. It's not, there's no regulars, there's no CTV of the left, right? And the right-wingers are generally the same, pulled from the same maybe 6 people, right? So in other words, the left-wingers that come on the hippy-dippy, they get some benefit from that. They get some exposure, they get some views, and they're Dylan's views, right? They're Dylan's viewers. So there's also a little bit of a leverage that Dylan gets over you when you appear on the Hippy Dippy podcast, right? Getting somebody's viewers to subscribe to you, if there's enough of them, makes it so that it's very hard to do anything that will displease them. And usually disagreeing with their thought leader is such a thing, right? They're very uncharitable to anyone disagreeing their dude, right? They're not here to hear that, right? They're not very amenable kind of criticism, right? So when it's the right wingers though, what Dylan ends up doing is taking somebody like CTV, who I think that the only time I ever saw him streaming, right? He was streaming to 4 people. That is naturally the kind of streamer CTV is. That is the audience that he appeals to, right? It's really hard for anyone to take him seriously. Dylan Burns changed that by spamming him over and over and over again until he became somewhat of a lolcow, but now he's a lolcow with an audience. And even if those audiences start off as hate watchers, right? The way that Twitch works, having 50 hate watchers in your chat will bring in more viewers, right? And some of those viewers aren't going to be immune to the lies that CTV is spitting. Same thing with Counterpoints. Same thing with a lot of right-wing streamers. Essentially, what Dylan Burns did, and I don't think it's through any malice, right? I've had my problems with Dylan, and I'm not going to assume the worst of him because of that, right? Maybe through ignorance. Definitely through negligence, I can say. He created an artificial right-wing ecosystem on Twitch where none had existed before. And the debating with CTV, who, has some pretty extreme beliefs, like the one time that we saw Rose Wrist take on CTV on the issue of segregation and systemic racism, right? We saw some really questionable parts of CTV's beliefs that never really get exposed on the debate panel itself, right? There's so many people there, you know, nobody really gets into you the way that somebody does one-on-one, but Rose Riss cut right to the heart of CTV's bullshit and exposed the Confederate like cake. You know, it's like one of those cakes that you cut open, it's like, oh, it's a Confederate flag, wow. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? But yeah, that's we got kind of like a weird pro-segregation take out of CTV. And exposing shit like that is dangerous to Dylan Burns because he's only got, like I said, so many right-wingers that he can invest in. He's only got so many right-wingers that he can trust. So when you take one of those people out, when you put one of those people beyond the pale, that actually makes life a lot harder for Dylan. Right? And kind of what he's focused on is it not being so hard. And what he's not focused on is the effect of that platform. And that is the sad truth about somebody who figures out the meta of Twitch viewership, but doesn't ever stop to question what's a responsible way to use that power. And we've got power operating without accountability. We call that tyranny. And Twitch politics right now is such a tyranny. So yeah, this is, you know, how it started out. From there, it went on to like, you know, Rob Norris, CTV, these people, they weren't spicy enough. We had to get some spicy Spice Meisters. So you start seeing people like Big Papa Fascist show up. You start seeing people that like, yeah, like the dude's name is like, right? You know, you start seeing more mask off kind of people. You start seeing JF Garapi being brought back from the dead, right? And you know, we're talking about a race realist and we're talking about like a predator. I don't know what else to call JF Garapi other than a predator. You know, a predator who had used platforming that he'd gotten in the past to find more victims, right? So there's an irresponsibility on both sides of that equation as far as JF Garapi goes. And this wasn't just people like, you know, Dylan, who, you know, admittedly likes to push the envelope for clicks. This was people like Lance of the Serfs, who in the past had been one of the beacons of responsibility and I guess stewardship of his platform. Lance, sadly, is part of the reason that I got onto Twitch politics in the first place, and to see what he's become, it breaks my heart. It breaks my fucking heart. And I know that Lance, you know, he's not like doing this like he, you know, it's not like I'm not saying you're an evil dude, Lance, right? But you lost your way. You lost your way. And it's fucking Twitch up.
Bad. My main goal, I guess, was to come off as like a not crazy triggered SJW to a lot of the conservatives in our audience. And to be fair, I've gotten quite a few messages from her fans saying, hey,
you're letting like Lauren Southern's fans and Lauren Southern sort of dictate like the way you, I don't know, I don't like this. Like, as long as you got that gaze of the anti-SJW on you and you're reacting to that, you're still playing their game, right? That's something that Xanderhal's missing, is that he thinks that he can just avoid a negative stereotype threat. Like, you know, somebody like me, basically. If Xanderhal can just keep the no comment chicks at a distance, then, you know, he can talk to Lauren and maybe talk some sense to her and make her realize, you know, that racist shit, that immigration shit, that race replacement shit, that was fucked up. Don't do that anymore, right? And all he needs to do is just be like, SJWs, I don't like them either. So yeah, it's kind of actually a cuck move. And I can say that because we're on YouTube. I can say that with confidence. Xanderhal, that's a cuck move.
Hey,
that's a weak move. That is not a Chad move.
I thought all liberals and lefties and people on the left were crazy and triggered and yada yada, and you were really reasonable. And I've gotten quite a few subscribers from her fan base because of that. So I feel like, well, I definitely could have done better in that ballpark. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in that respect. I guess, and you probably agree with this, obviously I got a few facts wrong, which is unfortunate because you can't see exactly where a debate about a kid's book is going to fractal off to.
Oh shit, this was about the kid's book, I forgot. When it came to the issue of like which issue do you think I did the best at, and which issue I did the worst at when it came to like an argument over a topic? So
it's going to be hard to like do like best and worst, because I think I disagree. I think the biggest problem was the framing of the conversation. Like, it is entirely possible that like a conservative person could put together like a children's book and it not be like a horrible thing. I think like framing this conversation as a discussion about the book and then trying to use that as like an opportunity to talk about like her past wrongs, I think that's kind of rhetorically a mistake, because I think it's going to make it look like and feel like an ambush.
Appealing to those audiences can lead to intellectual, well, I mean, I don't even know if it's intellectual capture. I halfway think that with Xanderhal it's like meme capture or something like that. Like that, like the meme environment that Xanderhal grew up in was one that like was downstream of a lot of right-wing bullshit. So it's like the thought is that, like, okay, some part of the right wing was good, maybe the edginess, and some part of the right wing was bad, probably the racism and transphobia. So we're going to take out the racism and transphobia, but we're going to leave the edginess. And then we're going to get more right-wing people to become not right-wing people, right? And the thing is that you're not doing any work on that aesthetic, and you're not questioning where that aesthetic comes from. And the place that right-wing aesthetic comes from, unfortunately, is the same well that a lot of really fucked up ideologies spring from, authoritarian ideologies, and that well is dominance paradigm. So Xanderhal is trying to get himself away from, you know, the alt-right. Like, that's his story. I got sucked into the pipeline partway, and then I came out, and I tried to help more people get out. You know, it's a good narrative. It's an effective narrative. But the thing that's being missed is that Xanderhal brought some of that garbage from the alt-right pipeline with him, and it informs his perspective to this day.
And there were even multiple points in the conversation, like, okay, I want to get back to talking about the book or whatever.
Yeah, that was one of the worst.
Wait, is that like is the stream lagging? Is that what that means?
Things, because I had the debate was about the book, like that was the thing that started the whole Twitter argument that led into the debate. But like, what is there really to debate about the book? The book on its own in a vacuum isn't that big a deal. It just kind of primes.
Are we doing okay, chat?
It's meant to
Sure,
prime
that's
kids for like conservative values, right?
Well, but that's her whole point, right? The
Chrome.
book in a vacuum isn't really a problem.
Yeah, but then there's not really much to debate about then.
That was her whole point. That's why she took this debate, right? Because you basically came out before her book was even released saying like, oh, I bet this book's gonna be horrible. Let's debate about it. And it's like, well, how? How could you even know that? That's her entire argument, right?
Yeah, the book was out, and I read it before the debate. I don't know why, but a lot of people keep saying I didn't read the book. I read it multiple times. In
Well, it was that you
preparation
hadn't
for
read the book before
debate,
issuing the challenge, is my understanding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, the way she advertised it was, like, to combat the woke lefty narrative or whatever on Twitter, and that's what kind of... what actually ended up happening was I just, like, quote-tweeted the tweet about the book. It was like, hey, I'm going to cover this on stream. Does anyone have a few pages of it that I can cover? And then she quote-tweeted me and said, oh, here are a few. And I said, all right, I'll buy the book if you agree to come on stream and talk about it with me. And she said, okay, cool. Followed me on Twitter. We started talking in DMs. I bought the book. I read it, and then that's how we ended up having this conversation. But yeah, I feel like her having that constant get out of jail.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. Yeah, there's DMs. There's DMs, chat. Wouldn't you like to know what's in those DMs? It's none of your business, though. It's Lauren's business, and it's Xanderhal's business, but, yeah, I don't know, chat, I don't know.
Free card with, like, the book, being able to say, oh, well, I'm not here to talk about that, I'm here to talk about the book. I feel like that was constantly, like, a hindrance in my ability to debate her.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, like, this whole thing, like, you set yourself up at the beginning.
If I did that, people would hate me. I cannot get away with what Destiny gets away with. Like, this fucking huffy bitch shit, Destiny, what is this? You fucking princess.
Even if the intentions were a little bit more nuanced than just like, I hate your book, now let's argue about it, that I haven't read yet, I think the framing of it came off that way. And even the initial conversation, like when you guys started talking, was going to be about the book. It feels like you set yourself up like in an impossible, like you were in an impossible battle right at the start. Because the conversation was about the book, right?
So do you think like my first big mistake was like the entire concept of what we were debating?
Yeah, I think that was just like a huge mistake, right? Like I don't like JF, and I'll argue JF on almost any part of his moral philosophy, but like, I would never say like, JF, everything you've done is so stupid. Like, I'm going to argue over something you've published before. I think it's probably dumb too. And then I read it and I like, I don't know if that's true. Like, I'm sure if he, I think he's a PhD. I don't remember if he is, and he's published something. So like,
yeah, he must be.
I don't know if everything he's published is bad or not, right? That would be a bad approach. I would get destroyed in a conversation if I did that, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. I want to go in with something like in the future with debates. I want to go in with like, this is the topic we're discussing. This is the thing that I can research. This is something I can just bury my face in for the next 3 days and learn everything about, and then we can debate about that. So I definitely agree. That's like the entire premise was probably like immediately she already had a leg up on me on that one. I guess I wrote some notes before the debate, and like my 4 main objectives going into it were, hold on, let me read them off. Do not platform Lauren in a way that...
Talking with Lauren Southern about her children's book is a bit like talking... I mean, it depends on how you did it. If you did like a literal, like, you know... All right, for the parents out there in the audience, there's a new book out there. Lauren Southern teaches your kids how to resist the woke agenda. Now, Lauren, what is your book about? Oh, that's so cute. Oh, this is such... Oh, this artwork. Oh, this is adorable, Lauren. Who did this? Oh, wow. Oh, yes, I've seen his artwork from this other book. I think it was the Ben Shapiro children's book, right? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, that's the kind of shit. If you like sort of make it like, you know, it's like humanizing. Like, so what was your childhood experience like growing up? Did your mom read to you, Lauren? That's the kind of question that you really want to avoid, because at that point you kind of just bring them onto this level where they're just another human being giving just another take, and you forget all about the fact that Lauren Southern fired fucking flare guns at people.
It makes her harmful ideas more palatable to your audience, but make yourself palatable to her audience. Do you think like my audience?
I mean, if you can debate a children's book, but yeah, like Destiny's saying, it's kind of like an uphill battle.
Audience was like swayed towards Lauren Southern?
I think she looked fairly reasonable. I mean, your audience as a bread tuber are probably going to be majority like deranged socialists that are never going to be persuaded by anything
You got to give
because
them
their friends,
shit, don't you?
don't believe a certain thing, so they're probably safe.
They're actually not
but,
that
like, in terms of like people in
left.
the center, I think that it made Lauren look very reasonable. I think we have to be really careful I think that a lot of care must be taken when it comes to defending
Much
some
care.
of the more extremist rhetoric
Much
on the
care.
left, because to average Americans or to average humans, it's just not going to be defensible. Like people going on Twitter and doing this shit where they talk about how like there's a fucking revolution and peace isn't going to be an option and blah 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 blah. Like I don't think it's very
Destiny,
hard to
peace
attack
was
or
never
condemn
an option,
Trump
you
for his
bitch.
rhetoric and then to just come out and be chill.
Peace
with
was
that kind of
never
stuff.
an
Like to
option.
an average person,
Didn't you
it's
play the
always
Goose
gonna make you
Game?
look insane, I think, and I think that she had the upper hand there. Where like we'll quote like we'll
Obviously.
quote stuff that Kaepernick has said and then condemn Trump, who's in a vacuum. What Trump is saying isn't quite as bad. Now in totality, it's pretty obvious what Trump is doing, but like I think you just have to. I say bite the bullet, but I don't think it's that big a bullet to bite. You just have to be like, yeah, I think that violent rhetoric probably shouldn't exist on Twitter, period, even if it's BLM people doing it or something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. With the Kaepernick quote and the BLM riots, I feel like I definitely should have just said, nope, I don't support those either. The reason Colin Kaepernick probably didn't get banned is because he didn't say that on Twitter and he didn't have the millions of eyes on him that the president has, right? That would
Sure,
probably
although
be
that's
the
again
better
not good
way
because
to
I mean Kaepernick is pretty popular, right? Like,
go. Yeah,
like if
I don't know if
Kaepernick
he's-
was like a random person shit, but we can't be like, oh well, he's not the president. It's like sure, but he's like an internationally known athlete. But like,
Okay, so because I don't know if that could have been a good way. It would have been a better way to go about it. Would have been saying, well, okay, well the reason Trump got banned was because Kaepernick probably didn't have as many eyes on him, but at the same time she could have been like, oh, he's a big athlete, ex-football player. Yeah, I don't know. I think that in the future, just like biting the bullet on that one is probably the best thing to do. Just be like, okay, yeah, riot's bad, and that would have worked. You did say that? No, I don't think I said that. Balance tone in a way that won't scare off her audience. Like, don't go at her like crazy. And I feel like I kept my composure pretty well.
okay, kind of. So I'm getting irritated by this because I think that I conduct myself generally in conversations in a pretty
Oh my
respectful way, but I see a
God.
lot of people do things that I would qualify as like debate bro things, and for some reason people accuse me of doing this. I don't think I do this much, but I see it happen a lot.
He
There are a
doesn't
couple
see
things
it
that I
in
see. I'm being
himself.
pretty
He
harsh or
never
pretty critical here, but I
does.
see a
He
lot of
never
people do that.
sees
Just
it in
watch this, a ton
himself.
of people do this. I think you have to be really careful with a couple of traps. One, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Xander, but calling somebody by their name in the middle of a conversation is a very condescending thing to do, and I think that
Riley.
most people will get that, Xander. Like, very immediately will pick up on
Yeah.
that. I would be really careful for stuff like
Lauren.
that because it makes you come
You Nazi bitch.
off like, now, if the other person is being a piece of shit and another person is like going hard on you, I believe in matching tone. So if somebody wants to be a piece of shit to
Totally
me,
not
I'll
a debate
roll around
bro.
with dirt.
Hey,
I think it's
yeah,
fine. But
he's
if
not
the
a
other
debate
person's being
bro.
relatively respectful and you start laying in with like this is a logical fallacy or like the studies don't show this, blah blah blah, like that's stuff that is at the bottom, I think. So for instance, in the trans conversation, I think it's good to engage them on the material and engage them on the, I'll say the philosophical levels, like the ideas back and forth. Don't appeal to the studies until you've hit some like fundamental rock bottom where you just disagree over the numbers, because I think that you can find common ground and win rhetorically on higher levels rather than somebody saying, well, this is my opinion on this, and then you just going, well, all the studies disagree with you. I think that as soon as you say that, I think that it comes across as kind of like a debate tactic, or when you start calling out people for like gish galloping, or when you start using philosophy terms like consequentialism, like when you start saying stuff like this, I think it comes off as very debate bro-y, when Lauren Southern, for whatever faults she has rhetorically, comes off as like a very like polite, like trying to engage in honest conversation, like I don't want to say like naive person or whatever, but she comes off as being like very well-mannered, very good faith, very trying to like understand both sides and whatever, and is willing to make concessions seemingly when it seems like she has lost a point. So I think I would be very careful in trying to come off as like overly aggressive there.
Okay, yeah, because I felt like I wasn't aggressive enough. Like I let her talk too much at times, and I was too polite at some points. I didn't think about like the saying her name thing during a conversation. I didn't consider that being like rude. But in hindsight, no, that does make sense. Do you think I should have interrupted her more?
It's not a
Destiny turning a lack of self-awareness into an art.
Matter of
And a
I don't think you
science.
should have interrupted her more. I think that like my goal when I talk to like I don't know if I would call it alt-right anymore, I don't know, but for like conservatives or anybody disagree with, I think
Yeah, I was just thinking that impact suspect. I was just thinking that.
the goal is to
And I was about to call him on that, but he said on Twitter. So, like, if he had said on Twitch, I would have said something.
like find common ground and then steer them towards your prescription. I think one of the big problems a lot of leftists or progressives or whatever are having these days is they're just not willing to acknowledge what everyone in the world sees as just being obviously true. I think that it's better to just acknowledge what is obviously true and then
It depends on what you're talking about, Destiny. If you're going to give up some of those conventional... I don't think that Destiny means this. But... No, I think he doesn't realize he means this, right? Some of the shit, Destiny, being real, some of the shit that you think is just based on conventional wisdom. And you, like the right wing, don't question that, because you're just like, it's just something everybody knows. Ah! You know what I mean? It's this fucking, like, brainworm, right? That is like, oh no, like, I don't fucking need to prove that. That's like, you know, and it's not exactly the sky is blue statement that you think it is, right? It is not the obvious fucking no-brainer. And, you know, like, the research finds things that are counterintuitive every single day. Destiny, would you take all of that knowledge away from us? Obviously, no. And sometimes he does, you know, like defend arguments that are counterintuitive, and he'll put in the work to try to bring a right winger to where they understand, like, okay, so even though you think this is this way, you know, the facts are saying it's more like this way, right? You know, so, but it's just like there's other things where there's just no question. And like, you know, I guess what it is it's kind of a tempting, it's almost like a temptation. When you get your side of the argument is like the conventional wisdom side, you can ride that pony. You can ride that pony, and sometimes you can win the race. But that is an illegitimate win. That pony's on steroids. If that pony ever gets drug tested, right? If the what is the IU what are they called? The people that like test for the drugs in the athletes. It's like, you know, they'll whatever it is, right? Oh my god, I can't remember. Chat. There's like there's like a international union thing where they test. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's the thing that tests for steroids. Doping, but like, what is the acronym? Yes, USADA. I think so. Is that it? Right? USADA. Yeah, USADA. Yeah. Yes, Robert. Yeah, Speedwagon. Oh my God, thank you, Speedwagon. Much like your namesake, you are coming in right with the answer I need.
Move towards what you believe we should be doing, you know, in the future. So like, for instance, I don't remember this exactly, but like the subject on cancel culture. Cancel culture is cancer culture. We need to stop. This shit is just fucking so beyond fucking cringe. 99% of people in the center and everyone on the right sees it as being fucking cringe. Don't ever die on that hill. When somebody starts talking about like, oh, like cancel, be like, yeah, cancel culture sucks. Like, yeah, it's definitely gone overboard in some cases. And then boom, move off that topic. Because if you get bogged down trying to deny its existence, everybody in the middle like looks at you like, what the fuck? This guy is like such an ideologue. Like, of course this shit is horrible, right? I would just say like acknowledge shit that are like bad, and then move on to like your prescription, like move on to where you go from there. I'm trying to think like during
Okay, so this is like, I famously tried to talk to Destiny about a little bit of the nuance in cancel culture. I didn't deny its existence because I practice an art that's similar to improv. It's really hard to take something away, but it's really easy to add to something. And what I add to the cancel culture argument is that what we're talking about is scapegoating. And yes, does it happen to some people with privilege? Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But numbers-wise, it happens more to marginalized people. And, you know, kind of like the only reason that it's got this nifty name, because all it is scapegoating, right? But it's got a special name now, because, like, you know, some very privileged people have been bitten by that bug on Twitter. Some people have gotten their reputations ruined despite the amount of power that they had in the society. And so now it's a big deal. Now it's like, oh my God, cancel culture. No, it's like they didn't see it as real when it was scapegoating, right? So I'm trying to add to that argument, but like, you know, Destiny literally incapable of understanding what I was trying to lay on him. And it wasn't like, oh my God, what I was trying to lay on him was the most kind to him version of that argument, right? Because like at the time I was scared shitless to be interacting with Destiny, right? And I mean, I knew that if I was going to have any chance of affecting his viewpoint, I was going to have to sell him on something that was like the things that he already believed in, plus a little bit of extra nuance that might help him not play into right-wing memes like cancel culture, right? And that's what you do. You can use right-wing memes. You can use right-wing ideas, right? You can use right-wing like concepts, symbols, whatever, but you can't just use them. You got to change them. You got to transform them. You've got to change the meaning. Because if you don't change the meaning, all you're doing is a fail attempt at parody. When your attempt at parody ends with you faithfully mimicking, like, you know, right-wing talking points, you have failed to admit you're not doing parody anymore. You're spreading right-wing ideas. And you might think, like, to your community, yeah, like they're laughing at it. They see how cringe it is, right? But you're also putting something out there that with a right-wing audience giving, putting their eyes on it, they will just get their message reinforced, right? And that's what Destiny's kind of failing to do. What is the F about? What is the F about? What is the F? Are you just on your end? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else effing? Anybody else not able to see? Anybody else a dream character in my chat? What are we doing, chat? I need you to talk to me. Anybody in chat? If you in chat right now, type something into the chat and let me know that like either you are seeing the stream right now or that you are not seeing the stream and you are having trouble and I need to fix it. In Chrome I can see good. What is up with YouTube? What is up with YouTube? I'm sorry, Joni. I'm sorry you're having connectivity issues. Yeah, if anybody else is, let me know. Like, it looks good. It's working. Oh yeah. Hey Corvus, what's going on? Meow. So yeah, we're talking about the fucking patient zero of Lauren Southern here, which is Xanderhal, right? Somebody I called a friend for a very long time and, you know, found out too late that he was no friend of mine and he was not there for me when it counted.
Oh God, during the trans conversation, there were so many directions you could have taken.
And I think I know why. You want to know why Xanderhal always kept me at arm's length distance? It's because to Xanderhal, I'm just a cringe SJW. Because his self-perception is controlled by the right wing still. And he may have pulled himself out of the right wing rabbit hole, but he hasn't pulled some of that rabbit hole out of himself.
You know, and you felt like I don't know how familiar people are with all the topics, but some of the things that came out were just really bad here. The argument that you tried to make about how, like, well, there's a lot of people that regret doing like chemotherapy and radiation, I don't think was a strong point rhetorically. I think that most people don't want to have cancer. Are willing to suffer a great deal to get rid of cancer. Probably not the best.
I don't remember this.
Probably not the best argument to go down. I think that like hating on SSRIs could
working
be really
and
good
listening.
There, right? SSRI. I think that SSRIs and a lot of like HRT stuff can be pretty comparable. People have gender dysphoria. We could put them on puberty blockers at a young age. There are negative side effects to that. We must acknowledge that there are side effects or negative side effects. However, the goal when you prescribe any medication is that hopefully the positives will outweigh any potential negative side effects. The same is true of SSRIs. When you put somebody on an SSRI, they could become more suicidal. They could have other problems. There's issues related to libido, weight gain, hormone management, blah, 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 blah. But we hope that the pros outweigh the cons. I think that going with the comparison there to like SSRIs was way better than the weird cancer comparison.
Yeah, I thought at the time at least, and my thoughts with the cancer comparison was because I felt like a lot of people, especially in the audience, have probably had like a loved one who's died from cancer, has had to fight cancer. And at least in my experience and the experience of a lot of people I know, there's a shit ton of regret when it comes to getting treatment for cancer because chemo and radiation, that shit sucks.
Wait, I don't know what that means. I think that most people would rather suffer the chemo and radiation than die of cancer. No?
I guess it depends on most. Maybe this is my bias with my experience. Like my whole family had to like convince my grandma to get like chemo and to actually get treatment for it. She just wanted to be like, okay, this is how long I have left. I think the quote was she wanted to die with a fishing pole in her hand. And I imagine that like a lot of people have had that experience. But honestly, if you think that was probably not the best way to go.
Oh my God, there might be a defensible point here for Xander. Like there's a discussion that should go on between a patient and their doctor about quality of life. And that is the question sometimes of whether somebody's going to try an aggressive treatment or whether somebody, you know, based on the prognosis, right, based on the likelihood that the treatment has to help, sometimes they'll decide to forego that. And that is an important part of patient choice. Doctors, you know, operate with informed consent. And this is part of the informing of the patient in what their treatment options are and what the likely results of those treatment options are. There might be an argument somewhere in there, but yeah, Xanderhal does come off sounding like he's saying that treatments that are life-saving treatments in a lot of cases, the only treatments in a lot of cases are, to be avoided and just a cause of regret and stuff like that. But I don't think I hope that's not what he was trying to say.
Might be the case. So I think that it's very, very important to try to distinguish who we're talking about. If you're talking about like an 80-year-old person that's already on kind of like, I don't want to say on death's door, but like they're old and blah, blah, blah. And then they get like a cancer and it's like a 20% survival rate. And it's like, okay, sure. Like this person might not want to do chemo radiation. Like that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a discussion between the patient and their doctor. It really shouldn't become like, cause like new age wooey people will sometimes kind of make it like this principled thing of like, science or what is like, conventional medicine is bad and therefore this treatment is bad, and that there's like some magical goo, some salve that you can just spread on your cancer and make it go away, and that's what you should try doing is like, meditating more and like, and you know what? Yeah, lifestyle does affect like, prognosis. Like you should do the meditation. And if you find it to be like an effect, if you're that discussion with your doctor leads you in that direction, and the chemo, right? You it's not a choice between like caring about lifestyle and choosing to go with the advice that you get from your healthcare provider. Palliative care for the win. Yeah, and sometimes that's the choice. Sometimes that's the choice, and it's there's something to be there might be like a rescuable argument there, but yeah, it sounds like Xanderhal just didn't know how to really I don't know, maybe it was, I don't know.
Now, everybody has their own personal biases here. But if you don't acknowledge that, you could end up sounding really bad to some people. So my kid's mom had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she absolutely wanted to do chemo and radiation because she was like fucking 25 years old. She doesn't want to die to fucking cancer when she's in her 20s. So like for anybody that had like a cancer experience, or people that were under the age of like 50
they're
or
actually
60,
gonna...
when they hear something like that, it's like, wait, hold on, what? Some people regret, chemo? And I'm sure that there are people that are younger that, died fighting all the way to the end that didn't necessarily regret their chemotherapy. John, Total Biscuit comes to mind for somebody that had, I think it was rectal cancer, and he ended up dying at the end. But I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't remember him ever saying like, oh, I should have never done chemo. I should have just died earlier, I would navigate those waters carefully, or be more clear exactly about what you're talking about.
Yeah, feels Batman 7, of course. I definitely agree. I think that's like a very niche example that I don't know if it appeals to as many people as I thought it did at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the SSRI one is probably a bit more broad because it isn't like a significant amount of people deal with mental health issues.
Yeah, not only that, but it's also something that we tend to prescribe to children. It's also something that like children don't like. You can argue, like, does a child know their gender, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, well, does a child know if they're depressed, blah, blah, blah. We still prescribe them SSRIs, right? Do you think we should stop all forms of, like, anti-SSRI treatment? Now, they might bite the bullet on that. They might say, yeah, we shouldn't prescribe any of those drugs to anybody. I think that depending on how the conversation goes, that kind of makes them look bad. Like, should you not be allowed to prescribe any type of, like, ADHD medication, anything like that? Like, I think that you can make
Okay, so we're kind of getting into the weeds here. I don't want to, like, stick too long on this,
Also, conservatives like to draw this differentiation between male and female so much.
Oh God,
hardcore harp
gender.
On this.
Okay,
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I've heard this study thrown out a million times.
This next
by
part is
anti-trans
interesting.
People, or by like gender realist people when they're like, that babies, when they're only 2 or 3 months old, did you know that babies, male and female babies, play with different types of toys? Males play with puzzle toys and females blah blah blah. This is actually something that's been studied quite a bit. Jordan Peterson, it's true. Male babies and female babies do play in different ways with different types of toys. If you have evidence of babies doing this, then who are you to say that somebody that's 14 doesn't know anything about their fucking gender? Like, what a weird fucking thing to say. I think it's good to bring up stuff like that because for some reason conservatives like to treat children, I say children, adolescent people, like they're just totally dumb fucks about everything in their life. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's good to be able to bring up stuff like that, but that's just knowing it at the time, I think.
Yeah, I think the example that I always brought up is like, most people, I feel like, when they were in elementary school, probably had like their first crush and probably were able to figure out what their sexuality was. Because if you're little Timmy and you have a crush on little Sally, good chances are that you're straight. Not always, but at that point, like you can be 10 years old and have your first crush. And I feel like I've drawn that comparison a lot when it comes to gender identity.
Yeah, it could be over like gay stuff too. It might be that like, would you say that like somebody who's 14 like doesn't know if they're gay? Would you say that somebody who's like 15, 16 should be forced to date the opposite gender until they're 18 and can make a decision? Like we wouldn't say stuff like this. It would be ridiculous. Thankfully, like the gay issues and everything have come far enough that even conservatives won't be like they were in the 90s about that stuff, or 80s maybe. I don't know how far back it would go, but especially over the past like 10 or 20 years, I don't think you're gonna find very many conservative people that are gonna say like, oh yeah, gay conversion therapy is good. Like that's a pretty fringe position. Even
Destiny, you'll find people that say like the existence of gay people represent some kind of conspiracy, right? And sometimes it's an anti-Semitic conspiracy. In fact, that's one of the big ones, right?
Even among
Like-
conservatives those days. So.
You will find conservatives saying some fucked up shit if you actually like know what the like. I just don't know. Like, I feel like when Destiny acts like, you know, oh my god, the left is just it's like I'd rather talk to the people on the right. Like, he doesn't fucking know what the right is. His idea of the right is some kind of fucking like, you know, some kind of MSNBC, like some kind of slightly conservative MSNBC host, and he doesn't understand what the fuck is out there and how fucking deep those brain worms have burrowed, right? Like how irreconcilable some of their concepts of how the world works are with the actual reality out there.
Okay, all right, yeah, I agree. I think that pushing because no conservative, like you said, is going to go against the gay people. It's just that issue is
Not on that level.
so much acceptance for gay people in the country at this point, and even like most Western countries, right? That biting that bullet for a conservative is a really bad look. So drawing a comparison there can be pretty
Yeah,
good.
I mean, they might.
I guess my
might
final
not
one,
be as
I know I failed this one.
They might not be as forward with the beliefs, but that doesn't mean that they don't have them, and that doesn't mean they're not spreading them and through all kinds of weird little. I mean, QAnon has infiltrated a lot of the wellness community, a lot of the alternative medicine and natural living kind of community, right? They've actually made some serious inroads in those spots, and just like. They were right for conspiracy theories, I guess. They were ready to believe shit that didn't fucking make sense because they'd been practiced at it.
Do not let Lauren slide away from the topics. That one I feel like I completely failed at.
Yeah, kind of. But again, this was hard because the topics were technically supposed to be about her book. So like, a lot of people might, I guess, like maybe in a left-leaning audience, people might feel like she was the one that was pivoting. But I'm sure from her point of view, and for a lot of
So this is interesting because like Destiny's criticism of Xanderhal here is almost a lot of it seems to be around like being not nice enough to Lauren Southern, like, right, coming off as being judgmental, coming off as being having your mind made up ahead of reading the book. You know, it's a lot of this is like, you know, you should have been better to Lauren.
other people, it might have felt like the conversation was already like kind of an ambush, you know, because like she came there to talk about.
Yeah, I live in a small, mostly right-wing town, and Destiny is totally underestimating how extreme these people are.
Like her kid's book, and then all of a sudden it ended up being a conversation about, you know, like all of her political views and everything, right? It ended up being way different than probably she maybe thought it was going to be. Maybe she knew going in, but so it's hard to say like where the pivot, like, are people really going to see her as pivoting if she's.
And I'd say that's one of the bigger problems here is that like in inviting these, you know, creators into our midst, right? I think they're underestimating like kind of the power that those takes still hold, right? And the degree to which, you know, in troubled times, these kind of narratives that find a scapegoat and place all the blame on the scapegoat and tell the people they can live in a great, wonderful country like once existed if they just take care of you know who, right? You know, it's like it's more insidious and it's more appealing to more people than they realize. And I think that they thought that what they were doing was kind of, you know, playing with dead virus. And they didn't realize that it's more like spores, right? Where like just one of those spores surviving can actually start the whole process over again. Just like I said at the very beginning of this, I compared the resurrection of Lauren Southern to a horror movie in which you know, the big bad is killed, the Freddy Krueger, the monster, like, right, is dead, right? And then some dumb fuck ends up like doing the perfect thing to like enact the ritual that brings the horror show back, right? That's what it feels like is happening right now. And they never believe. They're like, oh, we're just playing, and then, you know, just draw a little, you know, thing here, spill the blood here, and it's like, oh nope, that's that you actually summoned you know, Freddy Krueger. Good job.
It's like saying that like, hey, like I would rather just focus on my book. Like maybe to somebody like in a left-leaning audience that might feel like a pivot, but I'm pretty sure to her it probably just feels like that's what she came to talk about.
Yeah, I guess this doesn't really
Diet can be good or bad, and that's a big part of the therapy.
matter so much for the audience because the audience doesn't know.
And there's such a lack of understanding of nutrition in the.
It was discussed before the debate happened in DMs, but like our agreement for this discussion was like we would start off with the book and then we would move into like the topics that would sort of fractal off from it. And that's what I mean. I expected going in. I assume if she's good faith, that's what she expected as well. And it definitely felt like I let her get away with that too much. I feel like.
But when we say like fractal going off from it, it sounds like I don't think that means that we take like an article on groupthink and then make that about like BLM. I don't think that that's the type of fractaling that she was probably thinking of. It probably just more had to do in general with like the type of book.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Yeah. No. Okay. That makes sense to me. Even if that was what she thought it was going to be, it wouldn't matter because the audience didn't know that. And
yeah, that's what I felt like at the beginning. I thought it was
like.
literally just a conversation about the book.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. I want to go over this one really quick because I hear so many people talking about it. I feel like they overblow it a little bit. I wasn't initially going to do this because I thought it maybe made Blair, or not, I don't know why I said Blair. I thought it maybe made Lauren look a little bit too like palatable to my audience or to any like progressives watching. But the trans rights thing, asking her to say trans rights, and I was like, but my chat was like saying, get her to say trans rights. I was like, okay, whatever. Okay, Lauren, say trans rights, and she was like, okay, yeah, trans rights. Can you say white rights? And I was like, I love white people. And I said like white rights to, because I figured like if I
think people will
refused to
meme
say
it.
that,
People will meme it because you're saying white rights to somebody that was arguably at least at one point a white nationalist, which was probably not good. Like I don't think it was that big a deal. But I don't care. But I also think it's super cringe when people do like the trans rights thing. I think it's cringe when any of that shit. So I don't think it's that big a deal. People are probably gonna meme it really hard on you for a while though, or maybe forever. So
yeah, it's perfect clippable material. But you know, if we're being honest, there's everyone that doesn't like me will find something to clip to like keep posting on the internet. It never goes away. It's the internet. I guess. This is like a final overarching question, then I'll let you get back to the space game. Do you think, so I got into like left-leaning politics watching a lot of your debates, and going into it, I mean, I know from your history that you argued with people constantly. You got into like real blood battles in games, like shit-talking each other. You did debates like way back in the day. So I don't think anyone's really seen you before you were competent with debating. For me, I've only been doing this for like, I've done maybe like a few actual debates, and I've only been doing this for 2 years. Is it really just a practice thing? Just keep doing it, and you'll get better, or is it something that like?
Okay, we're gonna skip Destiny giving
I think that the goal is
fatherly
when you look at
advice.
people and how they have conversations these days. I think that like studying Vosh can be like a good example. So Vosh is never actually, if you watch the way that he does debates, Vosh isn't barely even listening to what the other person is saying. Almost all of his statements are directed at the audience, where it's one of those things. It's almost like a fourth wall, where like somebody might be debating Vosh over a topic, but all Vosh is saying is things that he thinks makes him look the best rhetorically in front of his audience, and maybe to people in the center, hopefully. Although sometimes he does better at it than other times. But I think that like that style of conversation seems to be more rhetorically effective and more popular than definitely being ultra combative, or two, even like legitimately engaging with the points of the person you're arguing with. It just depends, I guess, what your goal is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess I do miss like watching those old really blood sports debates from like 2016, 2017, even early 2018. It is sad that stuff's gone now because. God, it would have been if I was more competent at debating, if I was better at it, that shit would have been so fun to be a part of.
Yeah,
but I guess that's gone now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the problem is pretty simple. Do you remember the Raj Royale on Twitch? Did you ever look at any of their shit?
Yeah, back before Austin show. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is that like those types of people just don't make it very long. I'm gonna jerk myself up a little. People get spoiled by people like me, and I think maybe Vosh is like this. But like the types of personalities that can continuously fight with people and like have fun doing that. This is a very, very rare, very abnormal personality type. Most people don't enjoy that type of like conflict over and over and over again. These communities generally become incredibly self-destructive incredibly quickly. We saw it happen to the entire Septic community, all the anti-SJWs, when all the infighting began and shit, when people started going against Thunderfoot, when Sargon started to get excised from the community, when people started to leave. We saw it happen in a smaller community with like Tonkasaw and all of the people in that community, JF, Andy Warski, they kind of like fell into disarray and they started infighting. We saw it happen with the Raj Royale on Twitch, which isn't even politics-based, really. Those people started to fall away into infighting. Like, most people just don't want to be involved in conflict like that over long periods of time. They just can't handle it. It feels horrible. To most humans, it's a very alien type of thing to do, and like most normal people don't enjoy that type of thing. So yeah, I don't think that
the Septic community, I know, right? I thought that's what I heard.
I guess. You are right. Like, you can't just have constant, nonstop, every conversation you have with somebody is blood. I do like occasionally, whenever I see like like what was the big mad guy that couldn't stop panting like a fucking panther and kept talking about your son?
Jack. Yeah, something that's strange is I said you were big mad on Twitter, and then you said you weren't mad, but now right here you kind of look like you're big mad.
No, I sound like I'm a little bit angry because I'm talking to a shithead.
Okay, well, right now you're breathing heavier than Matthew Bellamy between your statements. Okay, so let's take a deep breath.
Well, you're not really a sock dumb, but anyway, go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry. What do you think? Could you just tell me what it means to be a sock dumb? I mean, we can like
Who gives
frame
a
it.
shit, you pedantic fucking moron? Who gives a shit, you fucking pedantic idiot?
Not
Oh my
being
God.
mad. Let's just look through the entire thing. If you are so did she ask to see his dick? Do you think the people that are in prison right now deserve to have gone there for weed?
Okay, anyway, I think
so-
that's
Actually don't give a shit.
probably as much
Show it
as
then.
we really
Show it
want to.
then.
Let's see.
Liar.
No, no, no,
You're
I'm
a
saying-
Oh wait,
liar.
this
I'm
is
not saying
interesting.
that. I
This
never-
is interesting. So Lonnie,
Wait,
No.
who's Lanny in your chat?
Lonnie's my girlfriend.
Oh, nice. She's a fucking moron. So like, she even just did it to me. What I just said was that is transphobic. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying? Oh yeah, the infrared guy. He's like he's a character. I think that if you catch him being calm, you can be calm. But he's also somebody that will meme and go big into the blood sports. But he plays like a character. So I would never. I don't like to argue like that with characters because then I feel stupid. Like I'm being sincere and they're just a character. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, my girlfriend's off limits. Okay. All right.
What? Tell her to stop talking shit about me then. Okay, so I got.
But I can't control her. Wait, I can't control.
Then you can't control me talking shit about her. What the fuck?
I can't listen. I can't control women. I don't have that power. All
Then
right.
stop
I don't have
protecting
to-
them. Treat them like equal people. All right. You say dumb
All right,
shit.
yeah, equal rights means equal fights. Okay. No, but seriously though, I think, I guess like the main thing that concerns me is that a lot of people, I guess like the debate sphere,
someone with a health condition that makes them breathe heavy, I guess.
especially in politics, has sort of had the ground laid by, at least on the like the progressive side, has had the ground laid by you and Vosh as well, even
Yeah,
though I
this
started
is
doing
pretty
YouTube and even
cursed.
politics before Vosh did. And so every time I do a debate or anything that I do, everybody will always compare me to either you or Vosh. And that's something I'm just never going to be able to like get away from, I feel like.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's obvious. It becomes very clear, even people like Demon Mama, when they're kind of like inspired by certain people, because a lot of the mannerisms and stuff are going to be similar. So people are always going to make those comparisons. I mean, there's nothing you can do to escape that.
Yeah, I guess. Is there
It must suck not to be original.
like any advice that you would give for dealing with that?
Be your own person. I don't know.
Be your own mama.
Yourself.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say 'cause I don't like to watch anybody else. So everything I do is kind of like I don't ever have to worry about that. But I mean, if I was like a mass consumer of content, I would probably start to take on a lot of the like mannerisms of those people. I don't know how you escape that. I mean, like I kind of do with like friends and shit. Like I'll even like Mr. Moot, and I'll complain that some meme he does is like incredibly fucking stupid, and then I'll find myself like unironically saying it like 3 or 4 days later. But Mr. Moot doesn't do politics. So I imagine if I was listening to any political figure, I would start to copy their mannerisms and shit. It would just happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I copy the mannerisms of non-political figures like more. Like I don't know, I watch like a fair amount of Summit and Trainwrecks, so that like some of their mannerisms rub off on me. And I guess when you hang out with somebody, like because I'm friends with Vosh, obviously some of his stuff rubs off on me. I watch your content, and you rub off on me all the time. No, but I feel like that's something that you can't really avoid, and all I can really do is argue with people whenever they say that or ignore it. Yeah, that's the reaction I want to see from DGG. Good job, guys. Yeah, I guess that's basically all. Unless there was anything else you want to go over.
Nope. I mean, practice makes perfect. You just got to keep doing it. Good luck.
All right. Final meme. Fuck Mike from PA. I think DGG can appreciate that.
True. Let's
Fuck
find some
PA.
common ground here. Not just fuck Mike from PA. Fuck all socialists. Amen, brother. Oh, also one more thing. It's guillotine, please. Guillotine, 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 guillotine. Say it. Wait, say
Did I say
guillotine.
guillotine? Did I say that?
Say guillotine,
Guillotine.
rights. Guillotine rights. Yes.
Guillotine rights.
True.
I fucked up.
Oh, so you want to guillotine the rights? That's what you're saying. You want to kill conservatives. Good one, Xanderhal. You're
I will
banned. See you
never
later.
advocate-
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think he actually got banned. I think that was a meme. Wait, Lawrence. Okay, so this 3 months. This fuck. No, this is Dylan talking to Xanderhal about the oh my god, white rights. I'm so curious, chat. I gotta know. Oh god, toxic.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. Is there any echo?
Okay, wait, no, this is Dylan just doing a debate reaction. And then talking to Xanderhal. Okay, yeah, we're not trying to...
Puberty blockers is a topic where like the left, just by like having gone through this material a million times online, we got like all the cards in our hand, right? We know exactly what to say. I hosted the Hippie Dippy Championship between John Burke, Rob, Vosh. Vosh did the same thing. Quoted the studies they would say beforehand. You knew all the problems with the study beforehand. Really good. The problem was, she would say all this information, right? She would say a million things. Then you would be like, well, this is why this is wrong. And she would never really
Like,
need to
go back to the
respond.
book
She'd
and
be like,
say
wait
that.
a second. Well, I'm here for the book. And there's no trans stuff in the book, which it seemed like a lot of it, she was right about.
Yeah, that's the thing about Xanderhal, is he's always seemed like the small dog that's like looking to the larger dog for like, you know, what to do.
Kind of the reaching. it felt like a lot of it was like the censorship or the thing like all the definitions felt a little bit like reaching. Like there was nothing in the book about trans people as far as I'm aware when it came to masculinity and femininity. And then she did the Uno reverse card where she was like, are you telling me that that men cis men can't be feminine? It was like, oh fuck. So I think she just
I felt like I handled that one well. That reverse card, I feel like I did well with that.
I did. Oh, I mean,
wait, had Dylan debated Lauren by this time or something?
Okay, but the fact you were on the back foot to begin with, in an area where you were supposed to be the one pressuring on the book, is a problem, right? Like if you're here to like, here's why your book is wrong, and she even has enough time to put you on the back foot to answer those questions, it feels a little weird, you know?
Well, the debate wasn't supposed to be about whether or not the book was wrong. The debate was supposed to be about the like political implications of what she was saying. She advertised the book to combat the woke lefty narrative.
Like in the book, like so like, can I ask you a question? You said you would debate her on the book before reading the book?
No, that's not what happened at all. I don't know why she said that. Very deliberately, what I said was that I was going to like go over a few pages of the book on stream for a segment, and then she ended up noticing that and then quote tweeting me and saying, "Here's one of the pages." And I said I'd buy the book and review it on stream if you agree to come on and talk to me afterwards and have a discussion about the political stuff in the book. And she said, "You have a deal." And then I read the book, and then we came to an agreement on it. Okay. And that's how the debate happened.
To do a better review, can we just go through the letters again quick? Because I've already forgotten like all the letters. What was the first letter you brought up to her?
Let me bring it up. The first one was equal opportunity.
God. Equal opportunity. And so basically then it got to like a thing about it seemed like every time like you would say it and like on his face all these things seemed perfectly fine. And I don't think anybody would read any of these things and have a problem with it. And so what you like ended up doing was like, well, what did you think about when writing this? And then you kind of like sprung from there because you wanted to talk about the author, right? Because you believe the beliefs of the author is important. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to debate off of that when the content of the book is so
like, again, everybody's, like, priorities are, like, did you treat Lauren Southern, like, correctly in this debate, right? It's kind of fucked up. Like, I'm trying to think of the proper metaphor. You know what I mean? Like, when somebody is faced with a really fucked up situation, and they start to complain about something that, like, wasn't even the problem is like maybe 180 degrees away from the problem, right?
Really unobjectionable. A lot of the books felt unobjectionable to me. Like I
Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but the things that you brought up, which seem to be the problematic ones, seem to be perfectly like fine. Most of it.
Okay, so
I mean, Dylan is not good at reading subtext. Dylan is not good at perceiving political messages that are even a little bit buried, right? He is a very surface level person, and his analysis remains completely surface level. So no surprise that Dylan is a sucker for Lauren. Like, I mean, that's what it is. That's what this is. Like, right, you're trying to call Xander out for Xander's cringe. In this case, Dylan, it's your cringe. It's your cringe for just not seeing fucking TradCon talking points when they're put in the form of a children's book, right?
And I talked to like Vosh and Demon Mama about how to go about this before I did it. The way that I went about it was, or the way that I wanted to go about it, and
Get better friends, Dan.
I feel like I did a pretty good job of that, is I would read one of the pages and I would ask, can you elaborate on that? Or what were you thinking when you said this? And I would ask her about like, okay, so do you believe that we live in like an equal society and that yada yada? And she's the one that brought up things like affirmative action, what have you. And that led into the topics that we actually would debate over. And that was the point of the discussion, from my understanding. That was my entire goal.
So your goal was to kind of use the book as a jumping off point to debate Lauren on the things she believes, right?
Yeah, based on like what it's referencing in the book, because it's pretty obvious that the book is referencing the idea that like gender is this, there is male and masculinity and femininity, this is what it means, and that's the point. That's what we were jumping off of.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, do you think that topic had to do?
So, like, I don't know, Chad. I'd have to look at the letters that they were talking about to know for sure, but it's sounding like Xanderhal picked out some gender essentialism from Lauren's book, which, I mean, I'd be surprised if gender essentialism wasn't a part of Lauren's book, and Dylan's like, what?
With trans people? Do you think that passage had to do with trans people?
Well,
like legitimately, or do you think it had to do with femininity and like masculinity, as in like men should behave this way and women should behave this way?
So the way that I went about it, here we'll go over the
How about both?
Masculinity one.
Like that, I would say that is the one that I would say is actually objectable. I was waiting for you to say, well, what is femininity? What is masculinity? You know?
Yeah, but then she added a little bit on the end that says, not all men are masculine. That's also okay at the end. So what I asked her was, so have you like changed your opinion on like gender nonconforming people, or what is your take on that?
That's the thing, because it felt like someone could be like masculine and still a woman, right? Someone can be feminine and still a man. So the thing is, none of that really had to do. I don't understand how that does to do with trans people. Maybe I'm just ignorant, but I just don't understand what that specifically has to do with trans people.
I feel like it applies fairly well to gender nonconformity broadly, right?
Gender nonconformity. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, Riley Grace in chat says, I'll be fair and say this really sounded like it was hinting at trans people. I guess that's the main thing that, I guess this is where I start on the back foot, is the fact that I know who Lauren Southern is. I know what she believes, and I have a pretty...
You start on the back foot because you're not a fucking naive, political analyst like Dylan.
Good idea of like the basic ideas that she's referenced.
Like, listen, I'm somebody who's incredibly good faith, too good faith, with some incredibly bad faith actors at times, famously, right? And like, come on.
In this book when she brings up a specific topic, right? Like, I know what she means when she says censorship, right? I know what she's referencing. Obviously, we had a big argument about it, like Twitter and shit like that. And we could have gone way into the censorship thing if we wanted to. I could have brought up like, wait, censorship is never okay. And then I'd bring up like a bunch of examples where it is okay. And she's like, well, okay, maybe sometimes it's okay, but you know, yeah, and it would just be like really back and forth in circles. I actually think where that ended up going with her trying to downplay the insurrection as being and what Trump did being comparable to like Democratic voters on Twitter and Facebook saying that the election was hacked compared to like...
Oh yeah, you did great. You did great when it came to the election. You did really good. I guess for me, it felt like the start on the first topic, puberty blockers, was good, and the mid part was weaker, and the end part was great. I think that would probably be my consensus. I just think the middle part, because I felt like a lot of it, like, because at the beginning she said you'd be reaching, and so for a lot of people watching it, what they're gonna see is that her talking about like what was the like looking at people equally and all these things, and into her saying right off the bat you're going to be reaching. That's how people are going to view it, that you are reaching from this point, right? That somehow we went from people talking about equality or people talking about just like it's okay for people to be masculine this or this or that way, and then reaching to these other topics. And while even if it is buried in there, I think the problem is going to be that that's how it's going to be viewed from a wider public. And it depends on like when you talk about like platforming or like comic and people like Lauren Southern, how it's going to be viewed is like super important.
I think that's possible, and I think at least from my at least because I was looking at chat the whole time. Every time I made an argument, I heard her argument. I checked over at chat. One annoying thing that chat kept doing.
Can I ask you a question? Were you looking at your own chat or were you looking at other people's chats? Because what I do a lot of times is I look at other people's chats when I'm having debates, because I want to see how communities that aren't like, fuck, I should have given you my chat. Well, don't worry about it. My chat's always based because they listen to me. You know.
I feel like a lot of
that chat is like a black hole.
People might interpret her being unwilling to defend a lot of the points that she holds as kind of slippery, because like I would bring up an issue.
To be a Dylan stan implies that you think Dylan is smart, and it's just like Trump. Anybody that thinks Trump is smart, they're dumber than Trump.
That everybody knows what her opinion is on it, even her own supporters, and she didn't seem willing to defend those positions.
Yeah, I think another thing that was really difficult is during the beginning, she would say like 100 things, right? And you would you would start saying one thing, and then immediately she'd jump on you. And I think one thing, and I mean, this is a criticism I make of myself all the time, is assertiveness, to be like, wait, you just said all these things, right? We're already on this one point. Let's go point by point by point. Because if you don't, then you're gonna like miss 20 points that haven't been addressed, that just seep into people's heads, and you haven't addressed those points. I have to deal with that all the time as on Hippy Dippy.
I could have muted her.
Dylan, that's what you failed to do on Hippy Dippy. That's exactly what I was talking. How much... Chat, I'm trying not to use words like scumbag, piece of shit, human fucking refuse, shit like that. I'm trying not to use these words as much, right? Because, like, if you use them too much, they lose meaning. But he literally... That is the point of view that he canceled me for. And he's stealing it and acting like this is what I thought all along. Dylan, if you thought that all along, you wouldn't have fucked up on Rob Noor. Oh my god. Dylan, you just NCC'd right. NCC was right. There we go. There we have it, chat. It's fucking over. Dylan admitted that I was right. As far as I'm concerned, that argument is over. You just admitted defeat, you little... You said NCC was right. Right there. Right there. That was you giving up the argument. That was our argument. You're now on my side. I was right, okay? Fucking vindication. Fucking vindication. Oh my god. Holy shit. Yeah, I guess I'm glad I watched this fucking... Oh, okay, I'm gonna try... See, like I said, I'm not wanting to, like, just go off with the fucking ad homs. Ad homs really add nothing, right? And let's save them for people who deserve them. Let's save them for, you know, let's save them for fucking Nazis, right? You know, some of those ad homs, like, right? They deserve a place on a Nazi, not on, you know... An incredibly bad faith actor, an incredibly naked emperor, an incredibly oblivious analyst, and the most insufferable, petulant little bitch that I ever clapped in a debate.
Maybe muting her would have probably been really bad optics.
No. It would have been bad optics to mute her, but you should have just made like a, wait a second, like I would like to finish my points. You just talked for a ton. Let me finish my thing and then we can dissect each other's.
That was almost really interesting. If Dylan, for a second, I thought he was going to be like, yeah, no, you know what you can do is you can mute her, keep her on screen, and then just say your piece, you know, like once you get to the point in the argument where you know that it's not going any further, that you know you're not talking to a good faith actor, right? That you know that nothing you say is going to change their point of view, and they're going to stick to their shit and act like they have a point of view when you just destroyed it, right? Like, I honestly thought that he was going to say, yeah, just like, you know, send him to the Shadowverse like I did with you in that debate, Dylan.
Stuff. Okay. Say something like that, because then if she objects to that, then it's going to be like, huh, that's kind of weird.
He's still feeling that one. Every time he freaks out on me, every time he says I'm a piece of shit, he's still feeling that one. He knows he got, like, his ass kicked. And he just admitted I was right. Okay, fucking vindication, chat. Vindication.
You're objecting to something like that. I mean, you did just get to say all those things, and then it's bad optics on her part, right? But if you, like, start muting people or be like, shut the fuck up or something, then you're in a position where they're like, yo, she just came onto your platform to talk about this book, and now you're asking her questions, and she can't even talk on it. That's how people are going to view it. So you gotta be very specific about what you're trying to do.
I feel like in the beginning it took me a hot minute to realize, like, okay, she's going to gish gallop forever. So whenever she would go on for like 5 minutes about something, that's when I got to the point where I started interrupting her. Was a little bit later on. Like, okay. Like, I get it. I know.
Move on. Look, all I can tell from this is she most certainly recorded for her own audiobook. She was most certainly, if she can talk for that long, then she most certainly was a person that did the audio for a book. So, okay. So the first one was, what was the first one again?
Equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity, and that's when it kind of slid into affirmative action. Now, I'm trying to remember, was it you who brought up affirmative action and stuff with equality? Was it her that brought up affirmative action? Okay, if I think I must have remembered that wrong. If she was the one who brought it up, then you need to take the opportunity, because the thing is, if you're just debating the content of the book, like, it's basically almost non-debatable, because it's like really milquetoast, and I doubt anybody's gonna hear like, treat people equally, censorship bad, don't do groupthink, right? And nobody is gonna hear those like sentiments on their face value and like think they're bad. Like, for example, like PragerU does this thing for kids, like little video documentary series, and none of it's like objectionable on its face, but when you know what it's connected to, that is objectionable. So I guess you needed to like basically let her kind of like slip up before you could do anything. So a lot of this was dependent on her like being the person to drag into that conversation. Because if you're the person that pushes it there, when she eventually says, which she always will, wait, we're supposed to talk about the book, it's going to look a lot more justifiable.
Okay, I think I did fairly well with that one, where because she brought up affirmative action, and I was like, well, usually when I think about people being, not having equal opportunity, right? I think of issues that are way more quantifiable than. And I condemned affirmative action because there's a lot of other issues with affirmative action that I listed before during the debate. Like, I think it's like well-off white women tend to benefit from it the most, more so than like impoverished people of color. And then I ended up moving into like issues that.
Before I lose this, I'm gonna lose this quick. I'm sorry to stop you. When the patriotism thing with the N-word, I think a much better response than, well, anybody can be patriotic for whatever perspective, because then it's hard for you to call something else unpatriotic. A better thing would have been, well, the thing is, I think racism is an unpatriotic thing, because I think it fights against the American ideal of all men are not created equal. I think that would have been a better response to it.
That is actually pretty good. Yeah, that is a good response. I didn't think of that. What I ended up saying was that patriotism and what is
It's
patriotic
subjective.
is subjective. Yeah.
But then if that's subjective, then you can't. It's hard for you to debate like Nazis aren't patriotic, Confederate sympathizers aren't patriotic, because from their perspective they'll say, "Well, I believe state rights is the way to go," or like, "Well, I believe America is based on the white race." You need to like, I think basing like patriotism and say patriotism is based on certain American ideals is the way to go. And so what you should have said is to. Burning the American flag when there are people trying to ban a liberty can be seen as a symbol of rejection, as people trying to constrain your individuality and your ability to practice your free speech. So when laws restrict freedom, you need to practice that freedom. Example of that, and this would have been a great way to pivot into making her have to possibly defend Trump, when Trump went on the campaign trail and said we should throw people in prison for burning the American flag. I think something like that would have been maybe like a good way to go about it. But being able to say that burning the American flag is patriotic is an extremely difficult position to defend for obvious reasons.
I think I've actually found it's like a fairly easy position to defend, but maybe not from the perspective of someone watching. I think one of the, I was like hesitant to bring up Trump up until the end when we talked about the election, because I think she brought it up actually. Because from what I'd heard like earlier on, she said that when we talked about the groupthink thing, she said that she thinks people get involved with MAGA and they have no good reason for it. And I was like, okay, maybe she's off the Trump train. So I feel like, I guess what I was thinking during the debate, that trying to get her on supporting Trump would have been a dead end, because she would probably just say, oh, I'm not on the Trump train.
It is really hard to debate somebody when you don't know where their ideology is at. I mean, like, I don't want to chide Xanderhal for this though, because it's kind of like streamers have busy lives if you don't know. Like, streaming for as long as me or Xanderhal do, it like, it's sometimes hard to, you know, be able to, like, you know, find this stuff. And that it's not as simple as it sounds, right? Lauren Southern is going to want to package herself in a certain way. And if you take that surface take like Dylan does, you know, takes everything at face value and just like, okay, if she says this, then she must, that's where she's coming from, right? You're going to miss some stuff. You're going to miss the entryism that she's trying to do. You got to kind of see she's coming in from the right. She's leaving some of the right wing shit behind, but she's bringing some of it with her. What is she bringing with her? That's where your debate needs to be. The stuff that the right wing stuff that she's trying to ship of Theseus onto the left.
Here's there's some things that like are very hard to like make sound patriotic. Like for example, one of the things that I always talk about, which is one of the positions that I guess one of the more controversial things I believe, is I do believe that tearing down Confederate statues.
Yeah, no, I did see that. So as Infrared's a debate slut,
is seen as a patriotic thing, and not for the reason
and a pay pig.
Initial reason people think because, well, they're against America. My thing is, when those things were put up as part of a campaign of structural racism and oppression, one of the great patriotic writers, Henry David Thoreau, who was not only a great novelist but also a political thinker, wrote a thing called Civil Disobedience in 1849. And this is also the justification I use for all acts of civil disobedience will break the law, where he said that when injustice becomes too great, the only place for a just man is in prison. And that when injustice becomes too great, you have to act as a counter-friction to injustice. And acting outside the law to do that is the only way you can sometimes act as a counter-friction to injustice. And I think by using that great known patriotic writer, citing that historical piece, and
so
like
chat,
basing it and things like that.
I hate to say it, but we're getting Dylan's high school English class, right? Thoreau, yeah, this is American lit. This is like, you know. And I mean, it's a great insight, you know, when you're 19, I guess.
Which puts people into a place where they have to like say, "Oh, Thoreau is very."
Why don't you bring up some? And you know another great American writer, F. Scott Fitzgerald. I think that's Great Gatsby's really applicable here too. Let's bring up Moby Dick while we're at it.
Yeah, no, he was just some libcuck. Puts people in a very difficult position, you know. So I think like when you make those arguments that are going to be very shocking to somebody, like burning the American flag is pro-America, like most people immediately gonna say no.
What's up with perspective philosophy debating Haas and failing horribly?
Need to have like something in there to like hit it.
You gotta charge Haas $200. That's the first step. If Haas doesn't pay you $200, what are you thinking?
Besides, like, you know, I mean, patriotism is subjective, because then ultimately how that'll be used is, well, the Nazi.
Like, you're missing a chance to get $200 from Haas and his community. You're missing a chance to force Haas to dye his hair blue. You're missing a chance to make Haas say that King Kong says trans rights, yeah? There's a lot of stuff that you could be extracting. There's a lot of value you could extract out of Haas that doesn't involve bringing him on your stream.
These are patriotic. Well, then everyone's
Just saying, chat. Just an idea for any of you lesser debate lords out there
patriotic. Every act should be considered
that like to get clowned on by Nazbuls.
patriotic because patriotism
Maybe take a page from No Comment Check.
is subjective.
Okay. No, it makes sense. Yeah, focus more on like the idea of defending
You
America.
can't listen to the student, like, yo, Neko, this is the fucking cringest shit ever. Okay, I mean, I'm serious. Like, this is just like randomly, like, let's.
Is American ideals exactly?
What is it? Wait, what is Dylan's argument? Can somebody? Okay, I lost track when I got amused by the fact that this is like, you know, this is my high school English class too, right? I read the, you know, like this is, you know, we can see kind of where this is coming from, right? And that's amusing. And I'm not trying to take a dig at Dylan, you know, at all for, you know, being in closer proximity to that high school American lit stuff than some of the rest of us. But yeah, it's what is the okay, so what was the point? Okay, so Thoreau wrote about the necessity to engage in civil disobedience even when it brings like legal consequences against you, right? What was his point? Does anybody know? Like, what was he getting at there? Next, he will tell us that he learned by reading the great philosophical book, The Rainbow Fish. No, but what was he getting? What was he going for? What is he trying to tell Xander about through Thoreau? Like that what, like it should the flag burning should be illegal, but like, you know, you should engage in civil disobedience anyway. Does anybody understand what Dylan, like, is it just like I got distracted, chat. Can somebody tell me really quick? Did anybody get that? Did anybody pick that up? What was he just like flexing Thoreau on us? Is that all that was? Like, listen, I'm not trying to, like, I want to be incredibly good faith. Like, that's who I am. I don't want that to change, you know, even for people like Dylan. I don't want to make the assumption that something's as cringe as it fucking looks. But, yeah, it's looking pretty cringe here. Does anybody have, like, like, an idea of, like, what point Dylan might have been trying to illustrate with Thoreau? Because I want to think that, like, he had a point. I want to think that wasn't just, like, a weird flex. Wait, that wait, but it wasn't that Xanderhal's point? Xanderhal was the one that argued that flag burning was an expression of, right? Isn't that right? In the debate with Lauren Southern, Xanderhal argued that flag burning was a expression of free speech that shouldn't be curtailed by any law, right? That is that, am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that's what. So what was Dylan's point? What was Dylan trying to get Xander to realize?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What else do you have?
What was the second one? The second letter?
G is for.
I was really happy you never said N because I was scared about that.
No, N was like.
I gotta get tactical up in here. G for groupthink. Groupthink. Okay. That one seemed the most. That was the one I was the most concerned with because that one seemed the most unobjectionable. It seemed the most like, hey, just don't do whatever your parents or whatever society tells you.
Wait, is that right? I don't want to make, like, is that right? Like, I don't know. Dylan's point is that quoting Thoreau would be more understandable than saying. I mean, I don't want to hate on Dylan too much for this, honestly. It's cringe. It's not Dylan's fault that he's like, I don't know, that like it's not that Dylan is like out of whack for, you know, it's just the position that he occupies in the hierarchy. That's where the problem is. Like, right, if he wasn't who he is in Twitch politics, this wouldn't really be an issue. This would be something to like, okay, you're into Thoreau now, maybe you'll read some better stuff later. That's cool, you know, whatever. I mean, I don't know. That's why I don't want to like
you or just don't
it,
follow.
It feels mean. It feels mean, Chad. I'm not trying to
leader. Like, think for yourself. Like, that's really like unobjectionable. So immediately when I read it out, I was like, oh fuck, this is how is this gonna be? Like, how is this gonna go? And like, yeah, it was. I guess like the group think
that he was justified in burning the flag, being paid. So he is like agreeing then with Xanderhal. But oh my god, wait, I thought he was trying to tell Xanderhal, okay, he's just saying like do a different like way of getting. So he agrees with Xanderhal, but what was Xander's like, what was his like, I guess they didn't really talk about that, but whatever Xander's take was on that, Dylan found to be unappealing to a mass audience, and that appeal. No, oh my god, here's the worst part. Like, okay, as much as like I've pointed out, like the, you know, less than intellectual quality of like, you know, Dylan's quote, to the right wing, it's too intellectual. It's too intellectual. The right wing hears the word Thoreau and they're, you know, they are not gonna get that. This is a weird take. This is a really fucking weird take. I don't get it. The reality is if Dylan debated Lauren instead, it would have gone even worse. I'm afraid you're right, Lilith. And I think, so as far as I understand, the platforming went this way. Xanderhal debated Lauren Southern. Lance debated Lauren Southern. I can't remember their name, but there was another creator too from Twitch that debated Lauren along with Lance. It was Lauren and counterpoints on one side, Lance and the other creator on the other side, and Dylan was acting as moderator, I guess. Dylan was the, you know, debate promoter. Yeah, I mean, promoter actually fits with the wrestling meta, doesn't it? Tomato. Dylan would have munched his cereal at the side and played Breath of the Wild. Hey, what's up, Tale of Two Rabbits. Yeah, I could not remember that name. Thank you so much, OnlyFacts. Yeah, you're bringing the facts, as always. Good to see you. Thoreau's civil disobedience seems really right-wing. I'll paste a link to it. Okay, so you're saying that because of its ideological nature, it might be, maybe that's why Dylan thought it might be more likely to appeal to a right-wing audience. The thing that I'm running into, though, is that, like, from my side, I'm having trouble not, like, being a little bit mean about, like, you know, somebody flexing Thoreau, you know what I mean? Because it's, like, it's a weird flex, you know? It's not exactly... I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with Thoreau. I'm not fucking calling Thoreau out. it's just, like... but like then on the right wing side, the problem is that like it's too intellectual for them. Like you really, if you want to communicate something to a right wing audience, you got to realize you're dealing with an anti-intellectual audience. And unless it's like David Brooks or something, right? There's very few examples of like, you know, right-wing intellectuals. I think he agrees, but he thinks the argument... Yeah, that's what I got. He agrees with Xanderhal. He didn't like how Xanderhal made the argument. We didn't get to hear a lot about what that argument was, but Dylan's alternative was a quote. I don't know. See, the thing is, if it was from George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, something like that, if your meta is like, I want to change some right-wing hearts and minds, then you got to go for the founding fathers, like, right? As much as Henry David Thoreau is closer to that era and is kind of like, I guess, canonized in American literature to the, you know, extent, like, right, it's just like that is not accessible to a right-wing audience the way that like a George Washington quote, like, and with the George Washington quote, they're not even going to hear it. They're going to hear that it's George Washington and they're going to be like, ah, yes, founding fathers, very good, right? You know, that's as deep as they go. So unfortunately, Dylan's like just like he's kind of missed the sweet spot here in his attempt to improve Xanderhal's argument. But like I said, we didn't listen to what Xanderhal's original argument was. I don't know if it was problematic in the beginning. I don't know if it was better or worse than Dylan's. But yeah, that was Dylan's swing and a miss, I guess. I've been out and about, a little stressed about dumb takes on Afghanistan from my fellow lefties. I haven't heard this. I heard there was some cringe on Twitter, right? against those for and against the pullout are making horrible arguments and selfish ones. Anyways, the government, which best governs, not at all. Yeah, and when men are prepared for it, that will be the kind of government which they will have. I hardly accept the motto. The government is best, which governs least. From Thoreau. Freedom is the freedom to burn the flag if you want. George Washington. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think Lao Tzu said something really similar too. Yeah, don't tell the right wingers about Lao Tzu. Okay, whatever you do, never give a right winger the Tao Te Ching. They will completely miss it. That book is like ripe for misinterpretation. I'm just waiting for some libertarian to do a video on like the Tao Te Ching and how it proves, like, you know, how it proves anarcho-capitalism correct.
What are you thinking when you chose that? Because that one seemed like the most unobjectable.
I think I did pretty good with that one because she immediately took it to, I think we're getting people too involved in politics. And I said, I don't think that's the case at all. I think that political, what's the word for it? Not disenfranchisement. I can't remember what the word was that I used at the time. Disaffection. I think that being disaffected about politics is really bad. And then she tried to defend people being disaffected by politics, and then kept on bringing up these things that she kept having to bite the pit like a.
Where's the line though between that and?
I thought it was Bill Hicks.
And groupthink. Where's the line? I don't, because if you bring this
that
up,
was her argument. That's what she pivoted it to. She pivoted it to, I just think that people are just following into politics because everybody else is. And I was like, yeah, sure, there's plenty of people that get into politics for the wrong reasons, but
I guess like for a lot of these, like initially when you read them, like everybody's gonna see it as like that's a completely unobjectable thing, and the rocky part is gonna be getting from that to something that's actually objectable, because and the problem is always gonna be when the source material feels so unobjectable, like just don't jump off a bridge because everyone else did. She can always just pivot back, and which she did multiple times. Most obviously when she was under the most heat under puberty blockers, and she pivoted out. Like I never mentioned trans people in the book. So I guess that since that one was just the most unobjectable to me, it was just a rocky start, because I'm like, how the fuck are we gonna find something wrong with what she just said? It'd be like if somebody said, don't steal, and then you said, what did you think about when writing this? And someone said, well, I'm just sick of all the minority groups looting, and then you'd be like, okay, well, that's a new thing. But then if you pivot back to the source material, like it's unobjectionable. But then it's when the original person's like beliefs are like lit up, that's the problem. So it's that beginning part that's...
Yeah, I don't entirely disagree here. I don't entirely disagree. This is you know, it's difficult to prosecute an argument against a book where what she's tried to do is like take right-wing talking points and bury them. And, you know, some of those she didn't bury very well, and you can dig those up, right? And you can use those, right? But I guess what Dylan is saying is that this one in particular is pretty well buried. And as much as you want to like kind of uncover that, she's gonna kick sand back. I'm imagining her as a cat in the litter box or something. She's gonna kick the litter back on that turd, right? Before you can pull. Oh my god, why are we pulling turds out of a kitty litter box? Oh my god, chat, I don't know where this came from. It's gonna
be really rocky.
Yeah, I feel like something I did, and I did this deliberately, was I feel like going into every one of those, I gave her the ability to just say, no, I mean, I don't have an issue with this, right? Or no,
you're hungry now.
I don't really have like...
Yeah, right. Have you seen the cakes? Like, people will make like fake litter boxes with like melted fudge as the cat turds, and like it's really a cake, like it's really a dessert or something like that, but it's made to look realistically like a litter box. So it's kind of, yeah, it's
like an opinion on that, or no, that's not what this meant. Like with the groupthink thing, she's the one that led it to, I think people are doing like the Black Lives Matter things. I was like, okay, I guess now we can talk about political...
Wait. So then what's Dylan talking about? If she went there, then no worries, right?
Disenfranchisement and Black Lives Matter and people getting into politics, because she led it there, and that's what we were able to debate. And that's what I was hoping for. It's what I was counting on, because on its own, like this was deliberate. On its own, there's nothing
wrong with the book.
In the vacuum. It's who made the book and the political beliefs of the person who made the book that I want to debate. And I think I lucked out that she was so willing very quickly to...
Can I ask you a question though? Let's say there was a person who wrote a book, and it was about an orange that bullied another orange, right? And like the orange beat him up.
Oh, I know, because one of the oranges was annoying, right? It was an annoying orange.
And it was really mean, and And the moral of the story was don't bully people, right? But the author, and like that's how everybody reads it. But the author was actually like great, right? Like oh, the white replacement theory, and this orange actually represents the destruction of the white man. And How much does that matter to you when it comes to like these books? If that's not the message that's being translated to audiences?
Sorry, I blanked out for a second because someone messaged me a message from my
Chat. Okay, so here's the deal. Xander, has had some rocky debates. Now, granted, like, I'm talking about Xanderhal as patient zero here. I think this Lauren Southern thing is a big fuck up, and everybody who's got their fingerprints on her is somewhat culpable for this, including Xanderhal, right? Like somebody I've famously stuck up for a number of times. I do not think he's without fault here. I think he is absolutely patient zero when it comes to BreadTube resurrecting Lauren Southern. So, but what I'm noticing here is this. Okay, so you've got a spectrum, at least in the way people think of political streamers. People don't give Xanderhal a lot of credit. People think of Xanderhal as naive, as like not good at debates, as like not understanding the issues, as not being very intellectual, right? I think at this point it's safe to say that is somewhat of an undeserved reputation. Xanderhal has been strong in the latest debates, right? Xanderhal has improved a lot. I'm not a fan of this stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that Xanderhal does that I'm not a fan of, right? But in terms of being a debater, he definitely holds his own. And in terms of being an intellectual, and this isn't a high bar, I would say he's Dylan's equal. Right? So, like, make fun of Xanderhal for Xanderhal's bad takes, right? Which, admittedly do happen. But I think a lot of this idea of Xanderhal being, like, the runt of the litter, like, intellectually, I don't know what it's based on. Because, he's not any more naive than Dylan is. He's just naive about different things, right? It's just, I don't know. I kind of think that this dichotomy between Xanderhal and Dylan, which most people in the debate sphere would place them on opposite sides of that of that spectrum, right? I think they're pretty fucking close. I don't think that, like, really, I don't know. It's all about perceptions. It's all about narratives, right? And it's all about marketing. And Dylan's marketed himself as being an expert, right? And, like, that's why I call him the Naked Emperor, because there is no expertise at the end of the day. There is no in-depth analysis. Everything is very surface level. Everything is very reductive. And there's a lot of important stuff that gets glossed over, that gets missed. And that he only admits is true after he's safely far enough away from the debate that he lost to me, right? So, because earlier in this, he basically admitted nocommentchick was right. He talked about gish galloping. He talked about the problem with it, and he talked about the responsibility of the person platforming the Gish Galloper to curtail that. That was my argument. That was my problem with the Hippy Dippy Championship. Dylan just said I was right. Now, he didn't mention me, and he's not going to mention me. He's not going to ever make that connection. But I will make that connection in a clip on the Drama Channel, and Dylan, thank you for admitting that I was right. Although I think everybody here already knew that.
Chat saying that Lauren retweeted and then unretweeted a tweet saying that I was obviously flirting with her.
Wait.
Okay.
What?
Okay, does anybody know about this? This is a rumor. This is the Xanderhal Coomer rumor, okay? I want to know, in chat, is there any truth to this? Because I haven't seen any substance, but supposedly Xanderhal is being a little bit flirty with Lauren? Or something like that? Is there is there real substance, or is this just speculation about what's in their DMs?
Damn.
Is that real? Wait.
Yeah, I mean, it was so obvious, Xander. Xander, you need to, horn dog, calm down, okay?
So this is something Lauren accused him of.
Ow, okay.
There's been people on the left saying that, like, he's got an obvious thing for Lauren. I don't know if it's true.
Okay,
it's true. Okay, somebody give me a citation. I don't want to just be making these baseless accusations. At the risk of my own stellar reputation on Twitch politics, right? I don't want to risk my amazing reputation and how highly everyone in Twitch politics thinks of me. Although I would gander that a number of them are reappraising the contempt that they hold me in. Now that everything that I said about platforming has been proven to be right.
Calm down.
All right. Okay. Listen,
One of the boys.
I said in my chat that I was banning any creepy messages about Lauren. I hope my mods get that up.
One of the boys.
Okay, someone said they're getting proof of it. Okay, all right, okay.
I mean, is this just a meme, though? Is this real?
All right.
Mike
Okay.
Lewis, back
yeah,
this
no, I
up.
think...
Back this up for me if it's
Can
real.
you repeat what you said before?
One of the boys. Okay. No, fuck. What did I say? Oh yeah, the orange story. I did the orange thing.
Yeah. So
He's hitting all the high points, chat. He's hitting all the high points.
would the orange story be political if what?
Okay, so let's say the in isolation, the orange story is like just about an orange bullying another orange, but then the author was like some great white replacement thing, right? Who believed in like white people were going to be wiped out by like immigration or whatever, and the story to him was supposed to represent the one orange being bullied was white people and the other orange was immigration or something. Does that really matter if that's not the message being delivered to audiences? Like that's not the thing that they're receiving from that.
No, not really. That's why I said that I read the book.
Yo, I mean, okay. This is a fundamental flaw in Dylan's thinking. And I'm not pointing it out to be mean. I'm not trying to intellectually bully anybody here. I'm worried. It wouldn't be an issue if it weren't for the position that Dylan occupies in the online political sphere. It wouldn't be an issue, right? It would just be another creator trying to get better takes, you know, and like that's a real struggle. I mean, you know, it's we can all relate. We've all had bad takes. We've all been wrong about things. That's not really a big deal. What is a big deal is Dylan's inability to see how powerful like framing can be. Dylan's inability to see how narrative frames, you know, discourse. And Dylan's inability to see how little meaningless thought experiments that don't really contain like any, you know, like you can make something that is designed for the audience to fill in the blank, right? You don't actually connect the dots. You don't actually say the race realist thing, right? But you set it up there for people's own biases to connect those dots. And Dylan would claim that there's nothing in there. You can't call that out, right? There's no content in there. There's nothing actually connecting those dots. And missing the fact that their dots are strategically left where they know that people's biases will correct those. We'll connect the dots, right? We'll make the picture. We'll draw the picture, right? That is a huge blind spot. That is a huge inability to perceive an important way in which the right wing inculcates people with their framing, right? This is what Doobie was doing when I debated Doobie, right? Doobie was obsessed with manipulating the language. He wouldn't say, I could not get him to say the Democratic Party once. He insisted on saying the Democrat Party. And acted like it's just like, what? The Democrat Party? No, it's like a little different when you're using the word that kind of incepts us with the idea of demon rats, right? You know, something that sounds negative versus something that most Americans have a positive association with. He is unwilling to describe the party as representing or being named after a value that most Americans have a positive association with, and instead wants to, you know, play this weird fucking language game, right? And I called him out on that. Now, some people might have said that was pedantic. Like, how could you just yelling at him about an IC at the end of a word? What's the difference? Democratic, it doesn't really make a difference. If it didn't make a difference, then Doobie would have said Democratic. I couldn't get him to say it. He refused to say it. There's a reason for this, chat, and you gotta notice this shit. You gotta see how the right wing works. And then you got to start to see patterns, right? And yeah, I get that you don't want to be like a conspiracy Andy and kind of like just draw patterns where there are none and see, you know, a Nazi behind every bush, right? But I don't think that's what Xander's doing, right? So the whole orange metaphor, it's like just like I don't know, like, right? There's so many ways to write a narrative that makes use of people's biases and keeps its fingerprints off the scene of the crime, right? And people like Dylan are willing to let those people go. People like Dylan will never look for right-wing propaganda where right-wing propaganda really is. Look at Ronald Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan's whole tactic was to make up stories about people that he'd met and paint a narrative out of that. Now, he wasn't saying that the welfare queen was black, but he knew that when he talked about this woman arriving in a Cadillac to the welfare welfare office to collect her check, that most Americans were imagining a black woman. He knew that when he said the young buck that should be, you know, working for a living and instead is like living high off the government largesse, that Americans would think of a young black man, right? He didn't have to get his fingerprints on the scene of the crime. He was able to do the crime without getting, you know, punished. And the American media fucking let him go for it. And, you know, it's only fucking nerds like me years later that'll kind of, years later, you know, like, that'll bring this stuff up, right? Because I happen to think that Ronald Reagan's presidency represented a particular turning point for the nation, where we turned from, you know, an admittedly inadequate response to the Great Depression and the prevailing wisdom of Keynesian economics and Rooseveltian policy to the Reagan era, where people took it on faith that the government was the problem. And that the smaller the government was, the better that it would be, and the less, you know, of the horrible things that the government does that they would do. So,
Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, like,
yeah, he wouldn't call he wouldn't say the word anti-fascist, right? He had to call them Antifa, right? Because like Antifa just like is a shadowy figure. But if you say anti-fascist, then you realize, wait a minute. So wait, who are they fighting? Regular Joes? No. Joe's in Fred Perry t-shirts. Sorry, golf shirt. What are those called? Color. I don't know what the fuck they're called, but you get the idea, right?
at the end of the day, if you know what the book is supposed to represent, then
And I mean, this is like, I hate to bring it back, but this is the guy that platformed a Proud Boy, right? Like there is a long list of fuck-ups when it comes to platforming, and a severe lack of ability to accept accountability for any of it.
obviously that affects you. But that's why I said that I didn't really take issue with the book itself, and that's why I wanted to talk to Lauren about her political beliefs going into the book. Like that's why I kept asking, what did you mean by this? What are you thinking when you wrote this? And that's where she led it into like particular.
Chat, I love it. Tonight we close the book, we close the chapter of Dylan Burns in my life. I beat him at the debate. He admitted it. And like, you know what, Dylan? You're a joke now, okay? You went on a 3-month fucking cancel culture tour to try to destroy me. You fucking failed at that. You know those, like, so these people would point at my YouTube subs and point to how they went down during all this, and point to that as a referendum on me. Basically, people rejected nocommentchick's, idea. No, Dylan. Those followers were all your people. My subs that still remain started off as your people. These 800 and what are we like at now? Like 875, 885, whatever. Subs that I've got on YouTube. These were people that were a lot more sympathetic to you when it started out. These are people that are pilled on you now, Dylan. The fact that I kept anyone at all, despite the fact that I was fighting a front. On multiple fronts with creators much larger than myself. The fact that I've got people that stuck with me through that shows you something. You're the one who lost respect. You're the one who ruined your brand. You're the one who did things of dubious legality, the ramifications of which, I might add, are still up in the air. And what did you do it for? To defend an argument that you just admitted was wrong. You just admitted that you were wrong. You just admitted that I was right. How easy would it have been back then to just say NCC was right? Or even just like, I'll think about that. Because you know what? I'll think about that. You've given me something to consider. is something that would have gotten me to end the call in a nicer way. But at that point, I was just frustrated with you, and I wanted it to be over with. So, and you didn't really have anything more to say. All you were doing was shelling up like a hermit crab, and defending the indefensible after I had proven it to be wrong. And it is frustrating. And if I overreacted, it was due to that frustration. It was due to the fact that I was carrying a lot of emotional baggage for my entire community. It was about the fact that I said not just what I needed to say for my conscience, what I needed to say for trans people, but what I had to say for my audience if I want to be worthy of their approval, if I want to be worthy of their views, if I want to be worthy of their patronage, right? If I had sat there and kissed the ring like everybody else did to you, Dylan, maybe you never would have realized the problem with platforming Rob Noor. But somewhere, maybe even unconsciously, you realized that NCC was right. And whether you realized it or not, you just admitted it. And Dylan, there's a nice little tool called a clip where we can take your intransigence from before about this very issue and put it back to back with your literal admission. Dylan, this is your this is your kryptonite. I found it right here. All we gotta do is take Dylan from one time and put him up against Dylan from another time. And then we see how fucking bankrupt you are. Intellectually, ideologically, and morally. No, I'm declaring victory, chat. I am declaring victory.
Political topics most of the time.
Oh wow, we got a celebrity here, Pepe the Frog. Wow.
During the debate.
Amazing.
Okay. But you would we already passed this, but I just want to make sure you did acknowledge that probably when she said like you didn't read the book beforehand, you probably should have said, oh, actually I did. I just reviewed it on stream. You should have said that because I was working off of, and everybody in my chat was working off the idea that you actually didn't read the book, challenged her, and then read the book afterwards to try to find something wrong with it. Because that was the narrative she built with like how you were going to reach, and like the narrative made sense with what followed. So if you would have said, actually I did read it beforehand before doing this, that would have like really helped a lot.
Oh, I don't know. I guess yeah, I probably should have. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I thought that you didn't read the book, and then like.
Why isn't this stream on Twitch? Because I wanted to do something for my YouTube audience, right? Some people don't like to. In fact, the person that suggested that I do a stream on YouTube is not here. Maybe they'll be here. I don't know, chat.
Then after challenging her, then read the book.
I hope to see them.
That's how I and like everybody in my chat like saw it.
Jesus.
Oh, you just got 500 buckos.
Yeah, Jesus, holy hell.
I mean, the truth of the matter is that. Was it for? Well, please don't tell me it was Zonia giving that $500. It could have been. It could have been. Yeah. So. Let's be real, okay? Twitch, YouTube views. I have been on YouTube for less than half the time I've been on Twitch, and I've got 1.5 times the views on YouTube that I do on Twitch. So I thought it was about time that I started to honor that and actually give YouTube some of the streams too. So I hope everybody here, you can do YouTube. You figured it out. You found me in spite of the fact that I'm over here on YouTube, right? I'm going to try to do more for my YouTube audience because they have been really good to me. And I still love my Twitch audience. We'll still do streams on Twitch. That's not going anywhere. I just want to even it out a little bit more.
I'll have to get to that one in a minute. Thank you. Oh, fuck. Yeah, no, I think... That was probably a mistake, but yeah, I read the entire like exchange that happened. I don't even know why she said that.
Yeah, YouTube needs some love too. And like, listen, I'm from YouTube, right? I might have started my content creation career on Twitch, but I started my I don't know, yelling at chuds in the comments career on YouTube. So that's where the name nocommentchick comes from. Is that like I would see some really shitty comments. And I would just be like, don't comment, don't say anything. Like, and it would just get to the point where, like, after reading so many right-wing bullshit comments, I had to jump in the fray. It was like, no comment until I comment, right? That's the idea.
I said that I asked her if she would come on and talk about it and debate me if I bought the book and read it and reviewed it on stream and made a video. And the video's up on my channel right now of me reviewing the book.
Oh.
YouTube is kind of chill. Yeah, true.
Huh, so I was about to ask you also, like, how the hell did you get her on? It was that basically you challenged her. She said, if you read it and review it, and then you did it, and she was like, well, guess I gotta fulfill the promise then, huh?
Yeah, that was basically it, yeah.
Okay, so what was after groupthink?
Groupthink, and then I think we talked about Patriotism.
And that was one that actually she brought up because I think she came here prepared to
Wait,
talk about
P is
that
for
section,
patriotism?
and you weren't, and so she wanted to talk about it because she thought it would be something like a lefty would object to, right? Because she had like a dialogue tree for it.
It was one of the things that I wrote down, and I already had like, I think you could see it. I guess if I showed her face, I wish I'd shown her face actually. Because she like,
oh nice.
Maybe this is actually my fault because maybe I should have put her camera up on the top because there were a lot of points where she like leaned back and like you could see in her face that she was getting nervous, and maybe that visual feedback would have made my side look better. But when I brought up the patriotism thing and I like immediately responded, she seemed like really surprised, like she got scared for a second because I don't think she expected me to be like ready to go at that one because I didn't bring it up.
I don't know. It almost felt like to me that like she thought you were going to bring it up, and so she was prepared for it because she was prepared because like if I guess from her perspective as someone who isn't a lefty, if she was to read the book, it's like what would the lefty object to? Patriotism is probably one of the few things that people think of. The left hates America, you know, it's one of those things. And so I think she prepared for it. And then when she saw you didn't choose it, and maybe she also didn't think you'd have like the dialogue tree for it. But I already told you what I think would have been a better response to that when it came to like burning the American flag and whether it's patriotic or not, like in the whole like N-word response, right?
The trolls have been psychologically destroyed, yeah.
Which again, very thankful no one ever put the letter N up.
And I'd feel bad about that, except like they fell in the fucking hole they dug for me. So I don't know what to say. It's like, you know, get fucking wrecked.
Yeah. That and
flock around and find out. Like, listen, I'm from the YouTube comments, okay? I know how to fucking, you know, debate in comments. I know how to debate on stream. I know how to make fun of a jackass like Haas while he's in my chat fucking malding. I know how to make fun of a jackass like Dylan Burns while he's in my chat malding. We've got all those videos up, chat. You can go check them out if you want. But yeah, this is you know,
there's nihilism in the book.
I am. This is not my first rodeo.
Of nihilism.
Yeah.
For children, nihilism.
I didn't want to get into a big like philosophical debate with Lauren Southern. I don't care about.
Is this a recent convo between Xander? Is this a recent convo? You know, I don't know. I think it's about 3 months old. I think it was after Xanderhal's conversation with Lauren Southern. So what we're doing is we're going back to Patient Zero, which unfortunately was Xanderhal, right? Former friend of the VOD. Current source of I don't know, Chad. I don't know what Xanderhal provides, but I mean, like, we're talking about the person in a horror movie who, through just bad luck and unbelievable, like, lack of foresight, brings back the big bad from the original monster movie. Because like when you have like part 2 of the monster movie, the bad guy's dead, and you gotta find a way for the bad guy not to be dead, and usually they find like a fucking lolcow to be like, oh, what if there's a pentagram out in the woods, but what if I cut my hand and put the blood on? Oh no, the demons came out of the pentagram. Like, it's just like, yeah, this is Xanderhal. Like with Lauren Southern literally resurrecting her career out of nowhere, right?
Philosophy. Well, I do, but like it's not. It's...
And Xanderhal, I've cut you so many breaks on so many things, right? Because like you know, I think you're I think you're a good guy. I don't know, like I want to like you, but like you're doing fucking harm here, right? And this has gotten worse and worse, and this has led to what we're dealing here. Listen, Dylan's probably more culpable, all things together. You know, he's set up debates with Lauren and the serfs, and, you know, all the work that he did creating a right-wing ecosystem where none existed by his over-reliance on certain right-wing creators, and then their, you know, intellectual capture of him, which, you know,
it's just not something that's fun for me to argue.
It's like, so children, Friedrich Nietzsche was oh god, yeah, that'd be a fun conversation. Life is meaningless.
Don't bully, don't bully, don't bully.
You're all gonna die. Mommy.
Okay, well, you know, I mean, a lot of people have that impression of Nietzsche, and then some people have read Nietzsche, right? There's two different groups of people. People who think that Nietzsche was the champion of nihilism, and people who know that Nietzsche, like, nihilism was like Nietzsche's like hobby horse. Like, if he wanted to rip on anybody, he'd call him a nihilist, right? like a lot of what Nietzsche wrote about could be classified as being against nihilism, and what he perceived to be the creeping nihilism of a world which was centered on this notion of divinity, which basically evaporated in the Enlightenment. And the question that Nietzsche posed, oh my god, anyway, like I'm saying, I'm not trying to fucking intellectually bully anybody. Hey, listen, read Nietzsche. He's not always based. He's sometimes super cringe, but he's worth a read. And, you know, wrestling with his ideas is beneficial. He's not going to turn you into a Nazi. He's not going to turn you into a nihilist. He's just going to make you go, and that's, you know, sometimes it's nice to go,
He's gonna die too, and it doesn't matter. Sun's gonna explode. Fuck you. That would have been a great dialogue with
It's not a pentagram, but just another symbol.
children. Oh, sorry, just made you lose your monetization. Didn't mean to do that.
I lost my monetization a while ago. I think I lost my
With Nietzsche, yeah.
monetization by having Lauren Southern in the title.
By being too intellectual with Dylan.
True.
Oh my god, I gotta shut up. I gotta shut up, chat. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice here.
True. As a matter of fact, we can move on to X.
Move on. Made Xership. What was with that, by the way? Censorship doesn't start with an X.
No, it doesn't. But what the fuck else can
What
you
was
rhyme
C?
it?
Old white men tend to be pretty cringy. Yeah, there's not the you know, even if they're based for in some respects, like you'll find cringe not far beyond.
What was C?
C?
Yeah.
C was community.
Community. Oh, I guess you wanted to.
That one was completely unobjectable on its own. Like, there's nothing I could have gone through with that one.
Yeah. So censorship. It was basically like, hey, like don't censor stuff, basically, because you want to have access to things and know what they are, right? It's important. And so the process you went through is nothing censorable, and then you went through the whole like Russia collusion stuff and the which you did really well in Russia collusion, and went to. Do you think that at all there was like a point where you could have been like, of course, like I don't know if you did say this because I had to walk away a few times. Did you ever say like, okay, well obviously there's some things that should be censored, like threats of violence online, stuff like that, and then because I came back and you slid over to conspiracy theories about the election.
Here's the deal. Like I consider this conflict with Dylan to be over. Dylan's basically admitted that I'm right. He didn't say that I was right, but he agreed with the point that I brought to him in the first place. So, you know, I'm satisfied with that. I am not going to try to continue to pound away. Everybody knows what my appraisal of Dylan's analytical acumen is, and it's not great. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to try to, I'm going to try to stay away from the ad homs, keep those for people who really deserve them, because, you know, if you use them too much, they just lose their meaning, and
being stolen, and whether that should be taken offline, and that's when the whole conversation about big tech censorship came into. How do you think you did there?
But yeah, from now on, the conversation is about the platforming. Is about where Dylan's doing harm now, right?
I think I did pretty good. She seemed to be something that my original plan, my trap card there was going to be, well, what about child porn and what about threats of violence and stuff like that? But then she said,
of course, she was immediately going to throw that off. Yeah.
She even said that I'm sure you could list things that it's okay to censor. So I think I immediately decided to go with, okay, she's ready for that one. So instead of going with that, I'm going to go with like TOS enforcement. I think she might have brought up TOS enforcement. I don't remember exactly because I haven't had time to like.
T is for TOS, terms of service.
Yeah. T is for TOS. It's always bad. Never okay with TOS. Now, I think that like you said before, I think the beginning and the end of the debate was the best part, and it just dragged on a little bit in the middle.
Dragged on a little bit in the middle. Okay. Yeah, I would say the middle was probably where you were weakest. Yeah, 100%.
Do you think I should have
core training? You know, more sit-ups.
Yeah, I do leg day and I do arm day, but I didn't do enough core day. How do you think
like a straw with two oranges at each side?
Yeah. How do you think I handled?
I mean, oranges. I guess Dylan's got oranges on the mind.
The part with the insurrection at the Capitol and the election being stolen.
I think there's one point you should have brought up, and that was like, I do acknowledge that like a Waffle House being burnt down is important, but I think that the importance of the Capitol into the nation and national security and the information, and you did bring up the data that was at risk, but like how there is just a stark difference between a Waffle House being burnt down and the Capitol being accessed to, where Mitt Romney had to be turned around by Capitol Police because he was about to walk into the rioters, and I don't think those rioters would have liked Mitt Romney very much, being he was the only Republican that voted for impeachment.
Hey Dylan, you said I was you admitted that I was right earlier without using my name. I'm gonna admit that that's a pretty base take. I agree with Dylan Burns. I agree with Dylan Burns on this. Yeah, no, this is my talking point for this issue too. It's like,
Oh yeah, that was I messed up there because I said Mike Pence
no problem with that take.
had to run around from the hallway
No, it was
and
Mitt
not
Romney. I was like,
Yeah.
But Mike Pence did have to flee though, and they did.
He did.
And they did slow down the certification of the election.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, I feel like it felt like it looked a lot like she was going up to bat for the insurrectionists. I feel like that makes her look bad, but she like was milquetoast about it. I feel like a lot of the far right people that follow her are going to see that and be like, why wasn't she willing to defend any of these things? Why did she keep pivoting away off of these things?
I doubt it. I think since she's in stark contrast to you, they're going to be more busy being angry at you than like angry at Lauren. But here's one
Based on orange pill.
thing that I did see, which you never like push back upon. When she said members of Black Lives Matter, I think you needed to be like very like, that's not a thing. What's a member of Black? Do you mean the ILC, like the Act Blue taking donation organization? Are you telling me that somebody who works as staff for that thing was a member of that organization did it? Or are you saying somebody who falls under the umbrella term of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is an umbrella term? It's a broad brush. There is nobody who's a member of Black Lives Matter who are doing these things.
This is where CTV got his broad brush thing for, and at least Dylan, can wield the broad brush a little bit better than CTV. CTV, it's funny because like you can tell with CTV, it's like he's gotten hit with that broad brush a few times in debates, and now he wants to pick it up and like, oh yeah, broad brush, let me use this, and he doesn't even know like how to fucking use the like
same thing.
phrase.
How when somebody says a member of Antifa, that's not a thing.
That's true, but that would have been a bad way to argue, I think, because that would have given her an open to say, well,
Like, I got him trying to use the broad brush, like, phrase in like a positive sense of like, yeah, we want to be broad brush about this. It's like, no, that's like not. That's not how it works, CTV. That's not how it works.
How are these the people that raided the Capitol?
You would have
How are
said,
those-
what about the people who were like somebody like Jeff Finley and others who were members of the Proud Boy organization, for example, right? Who has also been, in your nation of Canada is a terrorist organization.
Wait, when did I say I was Canadian? Because people in chat misunderstood that when I said, well, you're Canadian, I'm American. I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
Yeah, but did you ever bring up the fact that the Proud Boys
Okay,
are like, well, the thing is,
there's something wrong with
actually, the member definition is important because when you look at the Proud Boys, they have members who engaged in violence. They have actual accountability they should have for their structure. A structure built on violence. It's a violent fight club.
So, chat, we're watching like a pretty big streamer doing something really, really fucking unprofessional. Like, Dylan, at this point, did not know how to get Xander live on his screen. He's actually, like, rebroadcasting Xander, or he's, like, taking Xander's, like... Oh, God, there's a easy way to do this, right? But if you do it wrong, like, he's got Xander's, like, feed from YouTube going, and because of that... It's looking like Xander is like his mouth is moving after he says the thing.
That has made it so they have been designated a terrorist organization by the Canadian government.
This was 3 months ago, and I'm sure that Dylan has figured out the shit since then.
Your own country believes they're a terrorist organization. Your country would see it as terrorists storming the Capitol.
Lauren Southern thinks that Canada's laws are like that. They label anybody they disagree with as terrorists. She like brought up like I watched her debate with Destiny last night. She brought up like the
You can also do this in post, but that would require Mr. Geek to get off his ass and actually do it.
C16 thing,
and he's too busy like looking at video of me.
In Canada, and so that Canada is not as good as America because they don't have proper freedom of speech. She would have just brought up that she doesn't like Canada's government.
She would have said so. You would have asked. Then you would have had to been like. So do you believe the Proud Boys are okay, or they're not a terror group? Like, what do you think of the Proud Boys? And then you could have shifted it to the organization, which was undoubtedly that actually had members engaging in violence. And so I guess the member distinction is a minor point, but yeah, I just always get angry. Someone says a member of Black Lives Matter, like you go to some fucking form, fill it out or something, and now I like black people, love black people.
Paste.
I think she would have. I feel like she would have had an easy out there, and it wouldn't have supported my overall.
Dylan had nothing to do with pulling Lauren into Twitch. Wait a minute. Defnot, what are you talking about? This is Patient Zero here, okay? This is the first left tuber to resurrect Lauren Southern after her fall into irrelevancy.
Argument if I brought up if I tried to jump on well, there's no members of BLM. It's just a movement, right? Like that would have I don't feel like that would have gotten her anywhere.
Fair enough. And what was the last one?
That was it. Censorship was the last one that we did.
Censorship, and yeah, I guess that's everything. I guess the patriotism and the midsection was probably the weakest, and the fact that she pivoted out of so many areas and there was not much you can do because she would just say it's not in the book. Basing it off of like the book makes it kind of like if you were able to like maybe choose like an article or something like that she wrote that has actual positions in it, so she would never have the ability to pivot, or it'd be more difficult for her to pivot, I guess it would have been better. But I don't think you would have been able to get her on otherwise, right? You wouldn't have been able to get her on by like bringing up an old article she wrote or something.
I feel like, yeah, that would have been good. But also something that I planned to do originally was to bring up some of her like controversies and the bad things that she's done, but that would have come off as like really bad and it would have made me look triggered. I think I like shook her up a bit a few times there, like where she started to get like loud and like, maybe because you guys couldn't see her on the screen. If I knew how to, I would have put her on the screen where she like looked upset and came off as like a little bit triggered.
Okay.
Wait, are you banned from chat as yourself, Samantha?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think also showing them on screen is better generally for like viewers' perspective to be able to see the person who you're talking to. I mean, you don't do it with just like a random caller, but if you have someone on who's like, if I had Jordan Peterson on, I know for sure I'd like have his face on screen.
Yeah, I think the main issue was because I don't know how to set up, or I didn't have the ability to set up like the camera. Like I would have put it like somewhere around here where my finger is. I would have put the camera up here and that would have been where her face was. But I would have had to have like Discord, like her camera on Discord on a specific part of the screen. And then whenever I like tabbed out to look at my document to look at which letters I want to go over, then I think her face would have disappeared. Maybe I could have done like a specific window
Do we need to unban your main account so you can come in here as that?
capture. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but because from my perspective, she seemed like collected basically the whole time. And like, I mean, my chat's telling me this right now. So maybe if that was true, then obviously that, you know, from the audience perspective, obviously not from like whether the points were good perspective, from a viewer's perspective, yeah.
Okay, next time I'll probably want to show whoever I'm debating's face because maybe from my perspective, I feel like I did better because I saw like the faces she was making and like I could see that associated with her. Some people in my chat are saying she got angry, but that is my chat. It's probably going to be biased. Yeah. But
Xander's chat is well known in the community for being a bunch of shrimps, a bunch of you know, dunderheads. I would refer to them as. Wouldn't you agree, Xander? Dunderheads, a lot of them.
Actually, I feel like most of them don't even like me. But you know, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, dunderheads.
Yeah, you are all done. I don't even know what a dunderhead is, but yeah, you are all done.
It's a type of candy.
Dunderheads. It sounds like the name of a World of Warcraft
right?
Tauren clan, but yeah.
Dunderheads. You've never heard the famous Dylan Burns TV phrase, dunderhead?
No, I haven't.
That's a pretty dunderhead move, Xander.
Okay, I feel like I'm getting inside joked here.
Well,
wait, is that a slur?
Oh no, slur.
In the future, it'll be considered a slur, right? In the future, yo, listen, chat. I've met the me from the future, and she says I'm yikes as fuck. She says there's like so much shit that I do that would not be tolerated in the future, right? It's like, you know, calling people dunderheads is probably not okay in the future.
Is a slur for dunderheads?
You know what? Like the truth of the matter is, you know what? She should insult somebody over being a bad person, and that's pretty much it, right? Being dumb. I mean, you know, that's you know, your intelligence is what your intelligence is. I would like it if people could think of it with a little bit more nuance in that like, you know, I might be really good at playing guitar, but maybe I'm not good at learning to translate like Greek into Latin, and then you are, you know what I mean? Like we all have different abilities. And some of the definitions of intelligence end up getting defined by the biases, by the sort of unexamined preferences and priorities our society holds, right? So, yeah, like, but this is the future. I realize that if I eliminate the word dumb from my lexicon, if I don't call anybody stupid, it's going to be pretty hard for me to communicate with the rest of online politics, right? And so I do those things for now, but I do get that it's not great. And I do get that in the future, hopefully we can move away from that.
I'm getting confused here. I'm Googling it. I'm Googling that shit.
It does come
up. A stupid person. Okay, so it's just dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you got me there. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I am
who's the dunderhead now? Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, you got me there. Overall, I know that a lot of leftists are going to be really pissed at me, and they're going to be like, "You irresponsibly platformed Lauren Southern."
I think that doesn't make sense here because she's so much more massive than you. Like when you think of like influence and like just general notoriety and like how well known. It's not like you put her face in front of new people and now new people know who Lauren Southern is, right? That's not a thing that happened. There's probably a few section people getting angry at you with, but there's less risk because of just the size of her. If she was like maybe a lot smaller, maybe the argument could be made.
Yeah, but I've already seen on Twitter like people being like, Lauren Southern destroyed Xanderhal. But to be fair, I think a lot of those people are the same people that like either don't like me or have been saying Xanderhal's going to do badly from the beginning.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's areas you can improve, obviously. I mean, at the beginning, like by the midway point, I was like, this is fucking over. He dumpstered it. But then you like, you kind of came back, and that's why you got the 5 out of 10, buddy.
Yeah, here I want to read over some feedback. I'm not going to name this person, but I'll read the messages and see like what you think of their criticism.
Okay.
So I generally like Xanderhal, but the Lawrence Southern quote debate has just been sad. It was just sad. She seemed reasonable. The only good part I watched was the trans kids debate. Even then, it felt lackluster. I hate comparing him to Vosh, but he would have handled it much better and much more responsibly. Demon Mama would have done better too.
I do think she came off as very reasonable. That is something that I think is true. She did. I didn't leave this conversation thinking she was like a nutter or something. And I think the main reason is because they're basing it off of a foundation that seems so unobjectable that you needed to like get her to say something off the wall during the conversation if you wanted to make her seem unreasonable. Because the things you were like bringing up were like equality good, censorship bad, community, like these things that were just like almost unobjectionable on their face that you would have to like reach out, but whether it was sad, I wouldn't say it was sad. I would say it was frustrating at times.
Yeah. Do you think I should have hammered in on her talking about elites and asked her what that meant? Or do you think that would have been presumptuous?
Maybe you could have been like, when you say elites, can you be specific? What do you mean by that? You can.
The thing is, like, that is, I mean, like, I get what they're getting at, and they're right. Right-wingers hide anti-Semitism behind talking of, behind the language of elites a lot, right? However, that, like, I actually agree with Dylan's earlier point about some things that I didn't think that point applied to on this point. I think that is one area that you're not going to be able to, if Lauren's not dumb enough to, like, let her mask slip, you're gonna have a hard time convincing people that elites, there might be more to that, and you're gonna sound very conspiratorial in doing that. And that doesn't mean that there's not something there. There absolutely is, but it is gonna be hard. It is not a fruitful direction to mine in, I guess.
Say that without being like, you're talking about the Jews, aren't you? You can say it, like, because then someone could be like, the financial, like, banking, well, fuck, I immediately went to that. It could be like, the media or something like that, or you could say like a specific class, and you could be talking about, okay, how much control do they have, and you can get to more specifics. Because when people say elites, I also like to ask for like, who are the elites? Like, can we be specific about what we mean by this? Because a lot of people in the head they'll just fill it within like, Jews, and we all know why.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, yeah. I knew I couldn't just do, what do you mean by that? I didn't think that was a good idea. I felt like that would have been presumptuous and it would have gone anywhere. I guess the main issue is that,
the Kaepernick thing was tough.
I feel like I did fairly all right there, because she ended up leading into her doing like the apologia for the Capitol riot, I feel like.
Yeah, I guess the thing you should have, like, when she said, for example, like, the thing is, she said actually Kaepernick might have had more influence because he didn't get banned. You could have been like, well, the thing is, people care and paid more attention to it and had more direct results. And so, of course, like, if the president breaks TOS, or terms of service, it's going to get more attention and have harsher results than if some random celebrity does it. Because if the president breaks terms of service, literally the whole world is paying attention. And obviously, we saw the results of that. Where when Kaepernick called for revolution, nobody, like, overthrew the government. When Trump asked for patriots to go to D.C., people died.
That's good. Yeah, that would have been a good way to go about it. That people, very particular people, would have been paying attention. Like when Trump did it, everybody saw it, but when Kaepernick did it, only those that were like interested in what he had to say probably saw it. That's actually a good way to go about it. I feel like I got her pretty good on TOS enforcement when it came to talking about the way that these platforms are run.
Yeah, that was the one section that I thought you would have been really good, is like talking about the specifics of why YouTube does what it does when it comes to advertisement, and how basically they are very scared about advertisers leaving. But then she brought up the thing with Shu, and I don't remember how I responded to that. Basically the idea with Shu that they basically stopped it so she couldn't get money from her, like Hell or whatever series. And,
Hell World,
yeah, Hell World. But then they still put ads on her.
Yeah, and I brought up there's a channel that specifically digs into the algorithm and how to...
Def Not, you're showing, like, a severe lack of understanding of the concept of platforming, right? It's not just, who brings somebody to a particular platform, right? There's nothing, like, magical about... There's no magical demarcation between, like, Twitch and the rest of the universe, as much as some people might like to see it that way. It's a process of acclimation. It's a process of, well, it starts kind of with perverse incentives, and that being that, you can attract a lot of attention by, having somebody like Lauren Southern in a debate. You'll get, her audience, which is sizable, and if you think that you're the debate fucking Chad, then maybe you can peel off some of those people from her. At least that's like what the rockstar debate bro wannabe inside of us tells us, right? That we can prove our glory as the debate lord by you know, putting this, you know, this race, or no, wait, what? Great replacement. Let's like, you know, make the least the easiest claim that we can. Great replacement adherent in her place, right? You know, and from there it just goes on to like, well, you know, Xanderhal did it, so yeah, let's do that. Now the serfs are getting in on the action, and then Dylan's, you know, getting in on the action, and like, because everybody's thinking it's like steroids, right? If nobody uses like steroids, then oh my god, this is a bad example. People would use steroids anyway. But what I mean is that like, it's kind of like, you know, the way that this process starts, the way that irresponsible platforming gets made more acceptable is when somebody, you know, kind of bends to that perverse incentive. And then it's easier for the next person to do it. And at some point it becomes that if you're not doing it, you're losing out. I guess that was where I was trying to go with the steroids metaphor, right? You know, that if you're in a sport where everybody's on steroids and you're not juiced up, you're not going to win. You're not going to compete. You're fucked, right? You know, you're like not going to full natty that shit out, right? You're going to get clapped, right? And that's you know, if you're going to stare into the void of the spectacle in a way that's completely oblivious to the effect of that act, then, you know, you're gonna lose out.
Wait, I can't remember the name of the channel, but I watched it recently, and apparently it was like a glitch, and that was like a channel that's like, the channel is about digging into the YouTube algorithm.
So did you say it was a glitch?
I think it's probably a glitch. It's a convenient.
You do realize
glitch.
how it's a convenient glitch, and people can be, oh, it's a glitch. It's a glitch. Really? Yeah, does it just happen to be the political alternative media? You know, it's gonna be good.
It looks bad, but if she put
like definitely, I hope you're not like passing off like conspiracy theories or anything. I'm not even
back
sure
on that,
if
which she didn't even do, then I could have said, well, then what problem does that solve? What does demonetizing it solve if an advertiser finds out that their ad is being run?
I'm not even sure if that server exists. Isn't it just a rumor or something?
And
yeah, why would YouTube do it? You basically asked them why would they do it then, yeah.
And if they find out about
there's like a rumor that there's like a server analogous to Politics GG for Twitch Politics, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's fake news. I'm pretty sure.
That glitch, those advertisers, YouTube's fucked because now their system
it's an urban legend
set up to keep advertisers on the platform. Oh yeah, can I let Riley in a minute because she wants to talk to?
Yeah, I'm fine. We can talk together. I like Riley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen screenshots of that shit too. I'm pretty sure they were made up though.
Riley's.
I definitely don't trust the source.
But it would be really
be sure not to hit, don't hit on her though. I mean, you already did it with Lawrence Southern. Don't do Riley too, okay?
Fix your hair. What's my hair doing? What's wrong?
I mean, everybody wants to act like there's a shadowy organization like calling the shot in Twitch Politics, and I press D to doubt. I press D to doubt whether that any of that, you know, even exists. That's
I don't know.
It sounds like tinfoil hat shit to me.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if we went down that road, like, well, that's a pretty convenient glitch. Why'd that happen? Then I feel like we could have gone down the, well, then YouTube's going to get fucked over when their advertisers find out their system they set up to keep advertisers isn't working.
Yeah, but then that would also depend on her accepting the premise that the reason this is happening is to keep advertisers.
Yeah, right?
Not to,
right? Yeah.
Take out the little guy. They would have to accept that premise. Which I do think, the thing is, I think that might work here because you specifically laid it out very, very well when it comes to, like, why exactly they do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do you want me to bring in Riley now?
Yeah, sure. I can go use the bathroom and, like, check. I can steal your content some more. I'll be right back.
All right.
Bring it on, Riley. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and miss that. I'm gonna go ahead and miss the RGR segment. I think I've had enough RGR for a lifetime, honestly. Okay, well, I don't know. Are we gonna miss anything here, chat? I don't think so.